Game 3 for the Buffalo Sabres. The Islanders were the only team in the Stanley Cup Series last year to win a game from the Stanley Cup champion Canadiens. They were beaten in 5 games. But the Islanders feel this year they can play with the Canadiens and they can even win the series. Will they? Well, of course, that's what we're going to find out in the next couple of weeks. I'm John Sterling, along with Bob Lawrence, and we'll be set for the lineup, the officials, and some pregame words on the Islanders and the Canadiens right after this message.
Taste Schaefer beer, consistently great Schaefer. From first brew to your last, it goes straight to your thirst. Beer after beer, the same great tasting Schaefer. Your last one always tastes as good as your first.
Schaefer consistency starts with country pure water, heading for the Schaefer Brewery in Lehigh Valley. There's Schaefer's Kreuzen brewed, that's brewing twice. For over 130 years, it's given Schaefer a smooth, crisp, consistently great taste. Schaefer consistency. Put it to the test. You'll find your last one tastes as good as your first.
Beer after beer, the same great tasting Schaefer. Your last one always tastes as good as your first.
Schaefer Brewing Company, Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania.
Here at the Forum, the Islanders and the Canadiens have still not made their re-entrance on the ice, but Coach Scotty Bowman of the Montreal Canadiens has made a change to the surprise, I'm sure, of a few people. It is a bit to me in his starting lineup, John.
Well, Bob, I'm very interested in this because this goes against what everyone has thought would be the starting lineup for tonight's game. That doesn't mean that Bowman won't change in the first 3 seconds or Harper won't change in the first 3 seconds, but according to the official starting lineup, which are handed in way before the game, the Islanders are starting their Lightning Company. They have to send their sheet in first. And Montreal has not started the checking line of Jarvis and Gainey and Jim Roberts. Rather, they've started their number 1 line of Steve Shutt, along with Guy Lafleur, and in the middle, a surprise, last year's center, Peter Mahovlich, who had been relegated down to another line instead of Jacques Lemaire. And I think that is psychology at his orchestra, Bob. Because maybe Bowman is trying to say, we don't need the Gainey line to check you. And today in the lobby, we were kidding Billy Harris about Bob Gainey. Bob Gainey has the habit, as Ron Gilbert once said of him, after a game at the Garden, Gilbert said that Gainey, he was closer to me than my deodorant. And that's a little bit of a surprise.
One of the things I think that bears a bit of explanation for those people who are not following the regular season of the Islanders, as we pointed out at center ice, the Islanders did lose those 4 games of the regular season meetings to the Canadiens. The first one of the year, however, was somewhat explainable, as you recall, John. There was a penalty taken by the Islanders, or called against the Islanders, on Jerry Hart for drawing blood on Pete Mahovlich, rather, and it was somewhat of a delayed call, if you will, and because of the 5 minutes required penalty to be spent in the box, the Canadiens scored 2 goals in that 5-minute period, went on to beat the Islanders 4-1. So had that disputed call not occurred, it might have been an entirely different game in that case. There was another one which also was somewhat explainable, but we're about to have Roger Doucette do something for us here.
Well, speaking of psyching up this audience, here comes Roger Doucette to sing "Oh Canada," as the players on both teams rise and so does the Forum.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed as the twilight cloud gleaming full broad bright and bright stars through the perilous night. All around us we walked with
Roger Doucette, and singing the Star Spangled Banner and then O Canada. The referee tonight is Brian Lewis, the linesman Matt Pavlik, and Willard Norris. Ken Dryden is defending the Canadian goal to our right. And, of course, Billy Smith, who has been ultra or super sensational in the playoffs, Bob, is in the goal to our left. The Islanders have won 6 straight playoff games.
I think Billy Smith is well aware of some of the problems he's had in the games he's been in goal against the Canadiens this year. Will not let that happen again, or hopefully will not, nor will the rest of the Islanders.
Both teams are matching their number 1 lines. The Lightning Company, Chartier, Harris, and Gillies for the Islanders, against Mahovlich, Lafleur, and Steve Shutt. Set the defenses for you in a minute. Off the jaw in center ice. It's knocked aside by Shutt and banged into the Islanders' zone. Stopped by Billy Smith. He leaves it in back for Dave Lewis. Lewis and Denny Potvin are on. Wound around the boards for Harris, and he pokes it out of his zone. The center ice is dumped back by Mahovlich for third Savard. Now Shutt forwards it to the Islanders' zone. Stopped by Lewis. He can't control. Picked up by Billy Harris. Harris ahead in center ice. Now, lead pass is kicked by Davey Lewis, deflected at the Canadian line, and Lewis plays it into the Canadian zone. Stopped there by Larry Robinson. He plays out to center ice. It is knocked into the Islanders' zone by the long stick of Pete Mahovlich. Picked up by Mahovlich in back of the net. Mahovlich looks to carry around the net. He does. He carries to the left circle. He loses on a check by Denny Potvin, and out of the zone comes Brian Chartier. Brian down the right side, ahead for Harris. In the slot, the shot. A kick saved by Dryden. Harris got off a good shot, and the puck is then dumped to center ice. Picked up by Jerry Hart, who's on. Jerry now plays it to the Canadian line. A 2-line pass when touched by Billy Harris. And both teams will make a change, Bob, as the game gets off very quickly.
It did quickly. Just a slight mishandling of the puck in the Islanders' zone when the Islanders were caught a bit out of position, and Mahovlich was checked off the puck to prevent any activity from that point on, which almost developed as a good opportunity for the Canadians. But some good checking going on by the Trottier line, especially Gillies keeping Lafleur away from the puck.
Both teams make changes, and we'll set the lines to look at those matchups. Islanders get on the veteran line of Juan Parisi and Westfall. Off the jaw, Canadians dumping in front of the net, deflected, picked up by Ray-Jean Houle. Back on the point to Nyrop. This shot is wide. The rebound on the right wing of Houle. He loses to Parisi, who dumps in back of his own net, picked up there by Yvon Lambert. He stumbles, boarded by Hart. Puck is going to be frozen there for a faceoff. This line has big Yvon Lambert on left wing, and 2 great quick gunners out there, Jacques Lemaire at center and Ray-Jean Houle on the right wing. They have Guy Lapointe and Bill Nyrop on defense. Islanders, of course, have Hart and Jean Potvin. Bert Marshall has not been on yet, along with the Juan Westfall Parisi line. Off the jaw, picked up by Jerry Hart. He winds it around in back of his cage on right wing. Westfall can't control. Dumped in the corner by Lambert, picked up by Hart. He's boarded him back by Ray-Jean Houle. He boards Hart, and they're going to hold it there for another faceoff. And the Canadians doing a great job of forechecking.
They really are. The Islanders are a little slow coming out of the blocks. They seem too anticipatory of what's about to happen instead of just doing what comes instinctively with the puck. And the Canadians are not letting them get away with it with that excellent forechecking, which is their forte. The Islanders decide to change their defensemen now, sending Jerry Hart and Jean Potvin to the bench. Denny and Davey Lewis come out.
Juju had to take the draw with Lemaire. It's in back of the Islander net, picked up by Dave Lewis. He sends off on the right side to Eddie Westfall, and he plays out of the zone. Stopped there by Lemaire. Back into Lambert. The shot is high and wide. Kicked off the glass. Picked up by Parisi on left wing. A lead for Juan. Juan comes to center. Juan, a nice move on Lemaire. Juan in the slot. Juan, a left wing lead for Parisi. Backed away by Lambert. Lambert throws against the boards. Not out. Kept in by Lewis. He loses control of the blue line. It's kicked to center ice by Lambert. Now ahead of the play is Ray-Jean Houle. A long shot is wide. The rebound kicks off in the right corner. Kept in by Nyrop, who loses his stick as he's boarded by Westfall. Picked up by Denny Potvin, and he clears to center ice. Now Mario Tremblay, who's on, sends ahead from Murray Wilson. Wilson is very, very quick, and he dumps it into the Islander zone. Denny Potvin will skate it down, and he just dumps out of the zone quickly to center ice. Stopped there by Larry Robinson. Robinson plays it back in, stopped at the blue line by Parisi, and he sends Juan and Westfall ahead. Pass a little too long for Westfall, all the way down in Canadian and behind their own net, picked up on the right wing by Mario Tremblay. Tremblay's pass broken up by Bourne. He comes in and creates an offside. There is a break in the action, and there is no score.
Hello, Emery. It's 9:30. Do you know where my package is?
Just give me the name and destination, sir.
At Emery, the Air Force and Air Freight, we have a computer tracking system that works like radar. It can tell us exactly where in our system your package is, no matter where in the world it is. And it can tell us just seconds after we ask. So we can tell you just seconds after you ask, no matter how many times you ask.
Hello, Emery. It's 9:31. Do you know where my package is now?
Emery, the Air Force in Air Freight.
Well, the Islanders again looking at a hard-checking Montreal Canadiens team, and it was Yvon Lambert who started the fireworks first by throwing two pretty good checks into the Islanders. One of them into Davy Lewis that sent him almost into the Canadian bench.
Another line change has brought Henning, Nystrom, and Bourne out against the Canadians' Mario Tremblay, Doug Riseborough, and Murray Wilson. Off the draw, now the Canadian line. Henning is dumped. No call is made. Islanders dumping in. It would be a lay offside. Now Riseborough to center with a slapper, blocked by the leg of Jerry Hart, cleared by Bourne to the right side. Riseborough dumps in back of the net. Now Bourne and Riseborough bang for it there in back of the Canadian net. Bourne kicks it free, and he sends out Henning. Here's a 2-on-2 with Nystrom. A lead for Nystrom. A shot is wide. Rebound left side for Henning. He centers it, goes behind the Canadian net. Bourne centers it, knocked aside by Robinson. He looks to clear himself, and he sends a good lead pass for Guy Lapointe. Lapointe across on the right side. Goes to the corner. Bumped there by Hart. And there's going to be a penalty called, I believe. Puck is stopped in back of the Canadian net. And Brian Lewis going to make a call right here. There is a break in the action, and there is no score.
Polio, the Italian food people, have spent 76 years in making and perfecting the finest Italian food products. If you want to become a better Italian cook, all you have to do is spend a few minutes in your favorite market, selecting such delicious, authentic Italian food products as Polio di Cut and mozzarella cheese, peeled plum tomatoes and sweet sliced peppers, breadcrumbs with imported Romano, macaroni, pepperoni, etc. Polio. They make it easier for you to make real Italian dishes.
Well, Jerry Hart has gone into the slammer for the first penalty of this series with the Canadiens for holding at 3:31 of the first period. By the way, after Bobby Bourne had gone down the ice, had dug the puck out of the corner, centered it to Nystrom, and he took a vicious check and was boarded pretty heavily, and Bobby Bourne has been taken in the locker room. It looks like he's bleeding from the mouth, but I think he'll be back on the ice shortly.
The first break of this game as the Hart penalty for holding. And the face-off in deep Islanders zone. Westfall will take the draw with Jacques Lemaire. It's sent back on the point now to Savard. Along the left side for Shutt. It escaped him. Picked up by Lewis. He can't clear it. Stopped by Lafleur. Lafleur now back on the point to Guy Lapointe. His shot broken up by Westfall. And it is not cleared. Lapointe in the front of the shot. It's saved by Billy Smith. Rebound left side is kept alive on the boards by Shutt. He is dumped down by Westfall. And Denny Pape looks to clear, and he does. Sits on the right. Billy Smith made a fine save, stopping Lapointe from maybe 10, 15 feet away. Now third Savard looks to reorganize the Canadian attack. Ahead for Shutt. Down the left side. Shutt comes across. He gets bumped again and knocked down. Great hip check by Denny Papin. Puck is loose in back of the Islander net. Swept out to the right corner for Lafleur. Back on the right point for Guy Lapointe. Played there by Henning. His shot is blocked by Davy Lewis, and he clears it all the way down. And boy, Steve Shutt has been nailed twice in a row, Bob. Once by Westfall, once by Denny Papin. All right, now here is Savard. Third Savard. He comes over the line right side. In the slot. His shot saved by Billy Smith. Rebound centered. Knocked aside by Denny Papin. Picked up by Davy Lewis. He can't control. Bumped in back to Lambert. Lambert out the right corner. On the right point to Larry Robinson. Now on the left point to third Savard. The slot shot. Good save. And City holds on. He made a fine save. And then he fell the puck and he held on.
The Islanders not only trying to kill this penalty being a man down, but they were a man with a stick broken and helpless of sorts. Eddie Westfall in the process of breaking up a shot from the right point, final point, broke his stick and was skating around empty-handed. Finally, on a super save from that initial shot on a cover-up by Billy Smith. Smitty is picking up where he left off in that Buffalo series with some. He's almost unconscious already.
That's a good thing he is, because the Canadians have had some marvelous shots. Our Canadians still have 41 seconds left on the Jerry Hart penalty. 15 minutes and 10 seconds left in the first period. Canadians sent out Mahavlich, Lambert. Doesn't matter who they send out. They all can shoot the puck. Mahovlich, Lambert, Guy Lafleur, and Larry Robinson on the point. And off the jaw, Smitty bangs it around the net. Picked up on the right side by Henning. He looks to clear, cannot. Kept in by Mahovlich. Back on the left point now to Robinson. Right point, Lafleur. Shot is broken up by Marshall and clears it into the seat. And Bert Marshall is on ice for the first time, Bob, in a long time. And he made a good block of the Lafleur shot and then slugged it into the crowd.
And a heads-up play by Bert, who brought it quickly to the attention of the officials in case they missed it, that it's been knocked off the ice by the Guy Lafleur, who took that shot, and on the rebound then trying to keep it in, sent it off. The Moose is back.
Ray-Jean Houle is playing a right wing on this line with Lambert and Mahovlich. Right now, Larry Robinson ahead for Mahovlich. A shot, glove save, and he holds on Billy Smith from the Islander net. You know, Bob, we mentioned it so many times in the Chicago and Buffalo series, but Smitty is just playing with such awareness, such assurance, and he is seeing every shot so well.
No question about it. He's clearing the puck well, reacting well. His reflexes seem to be quicker, almost as if, you know, the kid who lost weight and suddenly got more speed. I'm sure that's not the case with Smitty, but he sure is quicker in the nets tonight and has been in the playoffs so far this year.
22 seconds left on the Hart penalty. The face-off, left face-off circle, right side of Smith. Westfall draws it back. Picked up by Denny Potvin. He gets bumped by Lambert. Denny Potvin trying to get a face-off, and he does, with only 15 seconds left on the Hart penalty. Well, every time the Canadians on the power play, Bob, you just put your heart right in your mouth. They have so many offensive talents. Speed and passing and shooting, and so many of their guys excel. All right, off the face-off now, along the right corner, Denny Potvin tries to clear. He will, with a stick of Westfall, gunning it all the way down. Denny Potvin made that halfway pass the Islanders use when they're a man down. He made the halfway pass, and then it was cleared by Westfall. Now to center ice for Ray-Jean Houle. Got bumped by Davey Lewis, penalty over. Houle in front of the shot. Big save by Billy Smith off Mahovlich. Rebound is taken into the line by Chartier. He sends ahead to Westfall. One man to beat one point. The shot is broken up from behind by Robinson. Picked up in the corner by Westfall. He leaves it now for Chartier. Chartier bumped on the boards by Mahovlich, and they're going to hold on for a face-off in deep Canadian zone.
Well, I'll tell you this much, after the Islanders had worked so well at killing that penalty and some good goaltending by Billy Smith, it just seemed like the Lightning Company line was raring to go. Once the penalty was over to get back out on the ice, Clark Gillies was skating down the ice with a vengeance.
Bob, right now, the Canadians have put on their checking line against the Lightning Company. All right, off the jaw. That line did a great job against the Islanders last year in the playoffs. It's loose along the boards. Gainey now dumps out to center ice, stopped there by Clark Gillies. He sends across to Jerry Hart. His lead pass is at the Canadian line, but not across the line. Knocked down by Savard, and Savard regains. Savard now ahead for Robinson. A lead for Gainey off his stick. Goes all the way to deep Islander ice. Right corner, Gainey centers it on the right side for Jarvis. He kicks in the right corner for Gainey. His pass is broken up by Chartier. He knocks Gainey down. Jarvis tries to send it in back of the net. It's stopped there by Chartier. Comes out the right side of Gainey. Gainey's shot is broken up by Brian Chartier. He plays out of the zone. Chartier after it in center ice. Knocked aside by Savard. And Gainey now dumps it in. Those Canadian defensemen are so fast and so powerful. All right, now to center ice comes Brian Chartier. He guns it in off the boards. After it, Lafleur and Gillies. Cleared by Dryden, but not out. Kept in by Chartier. Back of the net, Gillies. Gillies bumped there. Gillies held there. No penalty called. Puck is picked up by Savard in back of his own net. Savard looks to come out. A right wing lead for Guy Lafleur taking a double shift. Lafleur now dumps it in. Gloved down by Billy Smith. Smitty clears it up ahead for Jude Juan. Juan's lead pass to Harris broken up by Robinson. Taken back by Shutt. And Steve Shutt plays it all the way down. Behind the Islander net, Jerry Hart. He winds it around the boards on the right wing to Harris. Harris passes is knocked to right side, picked up by Juan. He plays it again back of his own net to Bert Marshall. Marshall, a good left wing lead for Parisi. Now ahead for Jude Juan. Jude in center ice. Jude is knocked down from behind by Lemaire, and it's going to be a Canadian penalty. Jacques Lemaire. And there is a break in the action, and there is no score.
God morgon. Det här är Emery Air Freight.
Bonjour, ici Emery Air Freight.
Ohayou gozaimasu. Emery Air Freight de gozaimasu.
If you're looking for an air freight company that can ship a package practically anywhere, Emery speaks your language. We're on more than 1,000 planes a day, and we also have hundreds of offices all over the world with a computer tracking system to tell us just where your package is, no matter where in the world it is.
Hello, Emery Air Freight. Can I help you?
Emery, the Air Force in air freight.
The Islanders Islanders are now going their first power play of the game. Jacques Lemaire gets called for hooking of Jude Drouin. Time of the penalty is 7:25. That's Jacques Lemaire for hooking at 7:25.
Well, now we'll see if the Islanders can put any pressure on the Canadiens, Bob. This game really has been all Canadiens. The Islanders have exerted no pressure at all on Ken Dryden. Islanders get Drouin, Nystrom, Parisi out along with the Potvin brothers. Killing the penalty will be Ray-Jean Houle and Peter Mahovlich. On the faceoff, the puck is dumped to the Islander line. Picked up by Jude Drouin. Ray-Jean Houle almost played it off the body of Denny Potvin. He would have had a great lead into the zone. Now Nystrom has to back pass to Jean Potvin. A lead for Denny Potvin, and Dennis now comes to center ice. And Denny guns it in. Off the boards, right side. Robinson sends it off the boards halfway, and Mahovlich brings it out of the zone. Mahovlich cruising in center ice. Now comes across, takes the slap shot, comes back to center ice, takes the slapper. Now taken away by Nystrom. Nystrom down the right side. Bobby centers it. Back on the right point to Jean Potvin. Right side for Juju on the slap shot. Big save by Dryden in front. And the rebound comes out to Larry Robinson. He clears off the boards and all the way to center ice. Stopped there by Jean Potvin. But a minute 10 remaining on the penalty. Islanders set it up. Nystrom looks to come across. He does. He's hooked by Robinson, and they come across offside. As on the left side, Nystrom came in.
You know, Kenny Dryden is so good in the net. So the Islanders get a little bit of a pressure applied when they came in with the shot taken from the right side by Bobby Nystrom. He not only stopped the shot in a very big screen shot, just casually cleared it to the side and stood up like nothing was going on. He is so good and so casual.
Right out the faceoff in center ice. The Lightning Company is on for the Islanders. Doug Jarvis is on for Montreal. He's on with Gainey. They've got so many players, this team. So many players. Denny Potvin, a nice breakout in the middle for Clark Gillies. Here's a 3-on-2. Ahead for Brian Chartier, closing in. Brian in front, the pass, the shot. Goal! Islander goal! Islander goal! Billy Harris on a great feed from Brian Chartier. Put it in front. Brian didn't take the shot. He fed it back in the slot. Harris cruising, knocked it in. A power play goal by Billy Harris. And the Islanders lead it 1-0.
Billy Harris, who scored at least a point in every one of the playoff games the Islanders have been in so far this year, comes up with another goal. It is a power play goal from Brian Chartier, who casually cruised almost behind the net, sent it out in front, and Billy Harris banged it in. Gillies will also get an assist on the goal. And the Islanders will go in front 1-0 over the Montreal Canadiens. The time of the goal will be at 8:39.
Right off the jaw now. Gary Howitt sends it in. Now the Islanders have their checking line on for the first time. McMillan in the right corner plays it behind the net for Howitt. Howitt behind the net centers it. It went right past McMillan's skate. Picked up by LaFleur. Ahead Steve Shutt. Shutt is taken out of the play by Bert Marshall. Puck is picked up in the corner by Jerry Hart. Hart is bumped in the corner by LaFleur. Puck comes free, and now it is going to be held there for a face-off. So the goal-scoring Harris, what a great feed in front by Brian Chartier, who I thought was going to try to cruise in the middle for the shot, Bob. Instead, he threw the backhand pass across to Harris.
Heads-up play by, well, I almost call him super rookie, but he's not anymore. It just seems that way. Brian, such a heads-up player, allowed Harris to come right down the pipe and waited for the proper moment to throw it in front, and Harris just banged it right by sprawled Kenny Dryden. The Islanders lead it 1-0, the power play goal.
All right, off the draw now on the left point, LaPointe. His shot is broken up. Islanders have their checking line on now against Montreal's #1 line. LaFleur centers it. Knocked down in front was Lemaire, and out of the zone comes Sam Laurent. He sends over the line for Howitt. Howitt on the left side. Howitt looks to center it. Cannot knock aside by Rick Shawshaw, who's on defense for the first time tonight. Now the puck is kept in the zone, and Shutt will send it out of the zone. Here's a lead. 1-on-1, Lemaire and Jerry Hart. Lemaire holds up in the right corner, centers it. It goes right across goalmouth. LaFleur back on the point, back aside, and here is Sam Laurent. The one man to beat is Shawshaw. Sam Laurent across. Sam Laurent to the right side, holds up. Looks to center it now. Plays it in back for Howitt. Howie in back of the net. Howie looks to center it. Hits the back of the post. Picked up by Shawshaw on the right side, and he dumps out of the zone to center ice. Shot there by Jerry Hart. He dumps it across the Canadian blue line, flips back the other way by Guy Lapointe, and picked up in his own zone by Denny Potvin. Islanders lead it 1-0 on the power play goal by Billy Harris. Now Howitt plays it in. A glove save by Dryden. In back of the net, Guy Lapointe. He's boarded there by Jude Drouin. Howitt is knocked off the puck by Lapointe. Centering pass by Drouin comes to center ice. Skated down by Denny Popan, and he knocked Guy Lafleur down. Across the line, Lambert. His pass stolen by Westfall. Westfall sends Juan out. It's 2-on-2. Juan with a shot. A kick save by Dryden. And picked up by Bill Nyrop, who skates to center ice. He loses there. It's picked up by Juan. Here's a 2-on-1. Juan and Davy Lewis. Juan in the slot. The shot is broken up by Shawshaw. Rebound Juan. The shot is broken up by Lambert as the Canadians are playing very loose. While the puck is dumped to the Canadian line, kept in by Davy Lewis and Parisi, and now dumped out to center ice to Guy Lafleur. Lafleur's pass goes all the way down. Denny Popan skates it down in back of his net. He sends it in back of his net to Davy Lewis. The breakout pass again in the middle for Juan, and the lead is just too long for Westfall as it comes to center ice. Doug Riseborough back passes in his own end for third Savard. Savard comes to center. Savard plays it in off the boards. It'll be cleared by Billy Smith. He leaves it in back for Parisi, who just drops it in back of his net for Davy Lewis. His pass goes on the side of the net for Denny Pontman. Now out of the zone. Islanders breaking the zone easily now. Here is Westfall in center ice. A lead is just too long for Brian Chartier. Jumped back the other way by Mario Tremblay. Ahead now for Riseborough. The shot. Good save by Billy Smith. And he holds on. Oh, what a save, Smith, off Doug Riseborough. There is a break in the action with the score. The Islanders won, and Montreal no score.
After the game, you can score big points with a victory celebration at Jack in the Box. Celebrate with a Jumbo Jack hamburger and super scoop of French fries, or a super taco, or drown your sorrow in a big shake. If you can't make it after the game, come later. Most Jack in the Box restaurants are open 24 hours a day. After the game, pop into a Jack in the Box and have a ball, or a puck, depending on which game you're listening to.
Well, the Islanders got caught in a defensive line change, and as a result, Riseborough ended up with a puck just over the Islander blue line. He had a wide-open shot, had to pull up a bit as he was on the off wing, and took a rising slap shot at Smitty, who held on. Great glove save. It's still 1-0 Islanders.
All right, off the jaw, deep Islander end, picked up by Jerry Hart behind his net. His right wing pass to Westfall, stopped by Nyrop on the point of the shot. Saves Smitty, gloves and holds. Skating right through the slot, ready to pounce on that rebound, was Ray Jean-Houl. Willie Smith, you got to say it, Bob. Again, he's making all the right plays.
He really is. There was another example. Heads up by Smitty. There was a Canadian streaking in from the right side, looking for the Houl, looking for the rebound on the shot from the point. Smitty saw him and held onto the puck rather than trying to clear it.
All right, off the jaw now in the left face-off circle, picked up by Wilson. Back on the point for Savard. The shot is blocked by Howard. Here's a foot race heading in Savard, but Savard will win it. Or else Lorne might have had a break on. Now in center ice, Murray Wilson. He got his speed. He could really skate. Murray Wilson across. Murray Wilson right side. In front of the shot. Big save by Billy Smith. And it was cleared by Jean Pocan. Picked up by Houle. Right corner now. The fake by Mahovlich in the slot is broken up. Mahovlich on his backhand. The shot. Oh! Billy Smith was screened. And Mahovlich put it in the lower left-hand corner. Not a hard shot. But Smitty was totally screened. Mahovlich was on his backhand. Then he whirled around like doing a pirouette, and he fired it on his forehand in the lower left-hand corner, and we're tied at 1.
Mahovlich getting the goal had originally fanned on the shot twice as there was a cluster of bodies right in the slot. John Popan was there clearing out in front of the Islander net, Murray Wilson, and when Mahovlich spun around and just kind of threw it in the general direction of the net, it went in the lower right-hand corner. Ray Jean-Houl will get an assist, and Murray Wilson also. Time of the goal at 12:14.
All right, off the face-off, Canadians again dump it into the Islanders zone. We're tied at 1. Islanders clear it out to center ice. Stopped there by Savard. He plays it right back in again. Smitty leaves it in back for Davy Lewis, and Lewis now looks to come out. A lead now for Billy Harris. Here's a 2-on-1. Harris and Gillies. Harris across. Billy in the slot. The shot. Oh, a tough save as Dryden robbed Billy Harris of what looked like it was going to put the Islanders up in front and give Harris his second goal. Good play by Harris. He cruised to his left as he does, and he fired it to the right-hand side.
I think he's been watching Denny Popan. That's one of Denny's favorite moves. Go to the right, then cruise to the left, and let go of the wrist shot in a screen. And it was Clark Gillies who was coming across the slot to provide the screen. He collided with another pretty big dude by the name of Robinson, who took him out of the play. Great stick handling and a good shot by Billy Harris, and a better save by Kenny Dryden.
All right, that was a great glove by Kenny Dryden. All right, off the face-off, it is cleared by Jimmy Roberts to center ice. Picked back up by Dave Lewis, and he dumps it all the way down. Chartier behind the net with Savard knocked free behind the net by Teddy. Back on the left point to Lewis. The shot is broken up front. Rebound. Harris. Goal! Islander goal! Islander goal! Billy Harris. Johnny on the spot in front. Took that blocked shot by Davy Lewis and fired it home from no more than 10 feet away. And the Islanders lead it 2-1.
Well, the Islanders had been tied after Harris had scored his 4th playoff goal this year on a power play goal. Mahovlich tied it up about 4 minutes later, and in less than a minute, the Islanders go back in front on the 5th goal, 2nd of the game for Billy Harris.
And Bob, here's something more important to remember. Once on the power play, and now here, when teams are at full strength, the Islanders scored against that checking line. And Harris, who has been deviled by Gainey for 2 years now, has scored 2 goals this game. And Gainey has been on the ice both times. Right. And that's really important. All right, that's important for the series. All right, Robinson across the line, knocked aside by Jean Potvin. He goes in back to the net, does Big Jean. His pass broken up in front of the shot, hit the post. On the right side, but Smitty gave him no room. Hit the post because that's the only place he could shoot it. Now Jean Potvin in back of the net, being a beleaguered in back of the net, winds it around the boards to Jean Parisi, and Jean-Paul plays out to center right. Stopped there by Guy Lapointe, he plays it down. Billy Smith gloves it, and Johnson back for Jerry Hart. Islanders 2-1. And Hart almost gave up the bucket back. Lafleur again didn't have a shot. Now Parisi tries to clear the zone. Stops at his own blue line. Back passes to Jean Potvin. He escapes to center. Comes to the red line and kind of floats into the Canadian zone. Picked up by Larry Robinson. He sends out Jacques Lemaire. Here comes Lemaire to center ice. Lemaire, a big slap. A big save by Billy Smith. Lemaire can really gun it. In back of that shot, he is boarded by Westphal, and there's going to be a stoppage of play right here. Yes, there is. A break in the action. With the score, the Islanders 2 and Les Canadiens 1.
This is a Crazy Eddie commercial for people who hate Crazy Eddie commercials. Just remember, when you're looking for audio equipment, color TV, car stereo, CB, anything in home entertainment equipment, there's only one man to see, Crazy Eddie. His prices won't be beat, and Crazy Eddie has all the big-name brands. Everything is brand new. He never sells demos, seconds, or closed-out merchandise. Crazy Eddie stands behind all manufacturers' warranties, and he services what he sells. Visit one of the great Crazy Eddie locations in Manhattan, Brooklyn, the Bronx, or Syosset, Long Island, or call 645-1196 for a free price quote.
Stop into your participating Long Island Jack in the Box restaurant and get your Jack in the Box New York Islander iron-on, but hurry, the supplies are limited.
The Islanders lead it 2-1 with about 5:57. It's impossible to read that clock from here, but it's near it. Left in the first period. Off the draw, Parisi trying to clear it, cannot. Nyström can't clear it. Now it's bumped off the boards by Saint Laurent to center right. Stopped there by Riseborough, and he plays it in. A bouncer played behind the net by McMillan. He plays him back for Denny Potvin. A good lead pass to Saint Laurent. They break in the middle every time, Bob. Saint Laurent comes across. A lead in back for McMillan. In front of the backhand. Oh, it just went wide. He had Dryden down. He couldn't find the net. Now out comes Lambert to center. Ahead for Riseborough. Doug Riseborough to the right side. Bumped by Lewis. Knocked away by Lewis. Lewis got belted by Tremblay. They bang on the boards. In back of the net, Riseborough is taken down. Centered and deflected out to the point. Lapointe shot. Save. Smitty. Rebound. Cleared but not out. Lapointe on the right point. In the right circle. Lapointe centers it. Knocked aside by Lewis. Rebound in front. Cleared on the stick of Bobby Nyström. And Dennis is with him, but Nyström couldn't get the pass to him. Nyström now sends out of his own line. Dumped right back in by Yvon Lambert. Picked up by Lewis. Lewis clears to Denny Potvin, but in his own zone. Denny Potvin tries to hold the puck there. Deflects it loose, and the puck is going to be held there for a face-off. And that was the one time tonight when the Islanders really looked bad, Bob, as they were beleaguered by the Canadiens. They couldn't get the puck out, and they were all in the wrong position.
I couldn't agree with you more, but I'll tell you, Kenny Dryden looked as weak as I've seen him in a while on that backhander that Billy McMillan threw at him. Dryden had come out of the net trying to cut down the angle. Had he even been able to get a piece of that puck and it dropped down in front, the net would have been wide open. Billy Smith has started to play more of the aggressive Billy Smith in goal. He's starting to use the old stick like the axe that he did against the Buffalo Sabres. You come near his goal and you're going to get a whack.
Looking down the Islander bench, I do not see Bob Bourne back. Now off the draw, Réjean Houle sends it behind the Islander net. Islanders lead it 2-1 with over 4 minutes remaining in the period. Now Jean Potvin behind the net sends around to Clark Gillies. Gillies, a good right-wing lead to Harris. Harris down the right boards, across the line. Centers it is knocked aside by the stick of Dryden. Gillies along the left boards trying to center it. It's knocked aside by Mahovlich. And now Ray-Jean Houle almost took a header with Gilly's stick under his arm. That would have been a penalty. Houle should have gone down. Out of center ice, Mahovlich. He plays it all the way down. Billy Smith will stop it behind the net. Billy Harris has it behind the net. A good lead pass to Brian Trottier, and Brian skates to center. Brian ahead for Gillies. A right wing pass is broken up by Nyrop. Kicked by Mahovlich in center ice. Mahovlich now looks to come across. He does. He is dumped and knocked down by Jerry Hart. Knocked aside by Hart, but not out. Yes, it does come out of the zone. And the puck is played back to center ice. Savard has it there. Almost taken away by the forechecking of Billy Harris. Picked up by Steve Shutt. Shutt now a lead for Guy Lafleur. Ahead for Shutt. Shutt comes across. Shutt on the right side. Shutt centers it. Back on the point to Nyrop. The shot. Saved by Billy Smith. And his stick is right there. And we are right over the Islander goal. We can see the middle. We can see the NHL designation on that puck. And we can see the Smith face. Now here's Lafleur kicking it across the line. Knocked aside by Denny Fontaine, who clears to Hart to Westfall. Lead for Jujuran just behind him. Taken away by Guy Lafleur. Lafleur to the Islander line. He plays it across. Got a bump of Hart. Stripped by Hart. No call. Picked up by Jujuran. He sends it back for Denny Fontaine. Now a lead for Westfall. Westfall's pass is broken up by Lafleur. His pass comes all the way into the Islander zone. Stopped by Denny Fontaine. He winds it around the boards for Hart. Jerry Hart now looks to play it out. Cannot. Kept him momentarily, but now dubbed out by Hart, and it hit the Islander bench. And right now there is a break in the action with the score. The Islanders 2 and the Canadiens 1.
If the right place for you is Houston, Eastern Airlines has the right time for you with 5 nonstops every day. And now you can see feature movies on Eastern 6:15 p.m. wide-body 1011 Whisper liner to Houston. There's a small charge for headsets in coach. If you'd rather read or relax, there's a special section without a movie screen. For reservations to Houston, call the travel specialist, your travel agent, or Eastern Airlines. Eastern's got the right time and the right place for you.
It's a 2-1 hockey game. The Islanders leading it. Harris, a second goal from Lewis and Trottier at 12:56 to bring you up to date on the scoring.
2:45 remaining in the period, and now Gary Howe looks to play it out, and he does. The Canadiens have been really flying on the Islanders. The more they fly, Bob, if they don't score, the Islanders are going to get some great chances here. Now Howe plays it behind the Canadian net, picked up by Larry Robinson. Robinson turned back by the checking of McMillan, comes out the other side, and now he comes up ice. He can really skate and shoot. Robinson, he sends in Lafleur, too long, cleared by Smitty, and it goes in the crowd. You're wondering what all this roaring is about, and Bob, you well know, the Canadian crowd is trying to call penalties, but so far Brian Lewis has not conceded to the crowd.
I would like to echo that particular point, John. Brian Lewis is not about to be intimidated by this somewhat knowledgeable crowd here. They're trying to help him call some penalties, but I think he's called a fair game and a good game so far, and I'm sure he will.
Now, that's 2 minutes and about 20 seconds remaining in the first period. Islanders lead at 2-1. Both goals by Billy Harris. The Canadian goal by Peter Mahovlich. On the right point now to Guy Lapointe. His shot is broken up. Right circle for a shot. He settles it. The shot is broken up by Lafleur by Billy McMillan. Back on the right point to Guy Lapointe. Guy Lapointe, right side. Now left point for Robinson. The shot. Oh, saved by Smitty, and he holds on. And Bob, the matchups have gone the Islanders' way. They have been able, for some reason, to be able to play McMillan, Saint Laurent, and Howitt against this great Canadian line of Shutt, Lemaire, and Lafleur.
One of the good things that is working out, at least for the Islanders, in that particular flurry by the Canadians, the Islanders had their men well covered, except the points were wide open, but as long as they were clustered up in front and not on the wings, Billy Smith can see any of those slap shots that come from the point.
All right, off the draw now, behind the net, Jean Potvin sends off right side to Harris. He plays it right back. It comes in front of the goal. The puck is behind the goal now, poked there by Hart. Hart plays it back of the net for Harris. He sends out on the left corner of the net for Jean Potvin. Jean Potvin now plays off the boards to center ice. Skated down in his own end by Serge Savard. Savard drops it for Larry Robinson, and Robinson now a lead for Jacques Lemaire. Does Lafleur ever go off the ice? Here's Lemaire to center, and he plays it in. Off the boards right side. Now they're going to go off on a line change as Brian Trottier looks to skate out. He makes a good move around Jarvis. He comes to center. Brian Trottier now guns it wide of the net. Rebound. Harris couldn't reach it. Cleared by Savard. Poked along the boards by Trottier, but it will be played out. Here's a lead pass for Jimmy Roberts. Roberts across on the right side. In the slot. Gainey's shot is wide. Rebound and back Roberts. Roberts centers it right across goal mouth. Poked free by Gillies, and it's not clear. Kept in now. It's knocked aside by Harris. Harris comes up 1-on-2. Harris against Robinson. He comes across, and he plays it all the way down. Under a minute left in the first period. Gillies ties it up behind the boards, behind the Canadian net, and we'll have a face-off now, Bob, in deep Canadian zone.
Billy Harris had an opportunity to go down the right board, saw big Larry Robinson, and thought better of trying to muscle his way around him. It's just not going to happen. Harris had to dump the puck in. There just wasn't any trailers coming along with him so that he could center it. But Billy Harris can afford to let up a bit, scoring those 2 goals as he had for the Islanders so far tonight. Islanders lead it 2-1. A power play goal by Billy Harris, one of the regulation variety. Mahovlich is the goal scorer for the Canadiens so far tonight.
Juan will take this draw deep Canadian zone. Off the face-off, it is going to be carried out by Gainey. Gainey and Roberts come to center. Ahead for Roberts, right side. Gainey in front. The shot is wide. Good pass by Roberts, and Gainey's shot was way wide. Now Denny Papan sends it around the boards on the right side for Westfall, and he guns it to center ice with 38 seconds remaining in the period. In center ice, Guy Lapointe. A cross-ice pass broken up by Westfall. He has Juan ahead. He leads Juan across, but Juan was offside. A two-on pass anyway, and Juan was offside on his own. And if you wonder, we are up so high that the lights don't reflect or too close to the clock, whatever the reason is. Check it out. With this, 30 seconds left.
That's the problem. We can't see the dumb clock. That's what it is. 30 seconds left to play first period.
Islanders lead it 2-1. Off the face-off now. Guy Lapointe comes across right side, and Canadians come across offside as Parisi got a piece of that puck as Lapointe was coming across.
You mentioned a while ago on a great save by Billy Smith on a shot that Roberts couldn't get away, or Gainey rather, because Roberts had made such a good pass. What you might not have been able to see out of the corner of your eye. A great defensive play by Denny Potvin, keeping him Gainey out of the play.
All right, now the puck is sent right down into Islanders zone by Mario Tremblay, picked up by Bert Marshall. Bert behind the net, wings it around the boards for Parisi, and he just tips it out of the zone. Parisi in center, back passing to Marshall. He comes to center, and he shoots it in off the boards. Left side, Parisi, the shot, kick save by Dryden. Rebound in the slot for Westfall. In the left circle, Westfall, the backhander, stick save by Dryden. Rebound in the left corner, Juan, and the period comes to a close. And I'll tell you what, J.P. Parisi, we have seen him score so many goals in that area this year, Bob. He just ran a little bit out of angle room. And so his shot was a little on the short side, Dryden to make the save. If he had gotten that puck on him stick a little more out in front of the circle, he would have had a lot more angle. So, Robert, I got to think the Islanders are going to be awfully happy. They had a lot of opportunity to score, and they put 2 of them in, and they have a 2-1 lead at the end of the first period. And of course, we'd be the most foolish, simplistic children in the world if we believe that this first period is going to tell either a story in this game or in the series. It is not. These are pros, and they're not going to be swayed one way or the other by one period of hockey. But you know what? It's better than being behind.
It sure is. You took the words right out of my mouth. I don't care how the period is going. You got to feel a lot better when you're up 2-1 rather than being down 2-1, no matter how you look at it.
Well, Bob Lawrence is going to talk a little bit about ticket situation, because that's a point he has to make between the first and second period. Is going to review the penalties, the shots on goal, the scoring in this game, and then we'll get into the upcoming Islander schedule. For example, there is going to be a Saturday night game. That will be the 4th game of the series next Saturday night at Nassau Coliseum. Anyway, he's going to do all that when he returns. We are at the Forum in Montreal. This is the first game of the Stanley Cup semifinal series, a best-of-7 between the Islanders and the Canadiens. And John Sterling and Bob Lawrence will return at the end of one period here in Montreal. The score of the Islanders 2 and the Montreal Canadiens 1.
Please tell the jury what kind of car the defendant was driving.
A durable and economical Datsun B210 hatchback with the optional 5-speed transmission.
Objection. The phrase durable and economical calls for a conclusion by the witness.
Your Honor, the durability and economy of the Datsun B210 hatchback is well documented. Road tests, engine inspections, and the car gets 42 EPA highway miles per gallon, 28 in the city.
But these are estimates. Your mileage may vary.
The objection is overruled. Continue.
Now, please tell the jury how you knew it was a Datsun B210 hatchback.
Because of all the extras included in the price.
I object most strenuously.
Order. The jury will disregard that objection.
But we've already reached a verdict.
You have? What is it?
Hit it, guys.
Suddenly it's gonna dawn on you. Datsun saves.
See your local Datsun dealer.
John Potvin checks, steals the puck, takes a slap shot. He scores!
I'm Jean Potvin. As a defenseman for the New York Islanders, I do a lot of checking. But when I'm off the ice, I do my checking at Immigrant Savings Bank. Because when Immigrant says free checking, they mean it. Some banks advertise free checking, but to take advantage of their free offer, you usually have to keep a minimum balance of up to $500 tied up in your account. That's like having your best player spend a game in a penalty box. At Immigrant, there's no minimum balance required and no charges for the checks you write. It's like checking without the penalties. That's the kind of checking I like.
Team up with Jean Potvin and stop into any of the 15 conveniently located offices in Manhattan, Queens, Nassau, and Suffolk of the Emigrant Savings Bank, member FDIC. Why isn't every bank like Emigrant?
Here at the Forum in Montreal. Let's pause right now, 15 seconds for station identification. This is New York Islander hockey.
This is WMCA New York. Hi, I'm John Sterling, and I have Sports View, my own talk show Monday through Friday from 6 to 10, plus football, basketball, baseball, and hockey. WMCA, sports for all seasons.
The Islanders and the Montreal Canadiens have completed one period of play here at the Forum in Montreal, and the Islanders are leading it by a score of 2-1. In the first period, the Islanders went on top by 1-0 on a power play goal by Billy Harris. It is his fourth playoff goal this year for the New York Islanders. The assist came from Brian Trottier and Clark Gillies at 8:39 of the first period, and most of the work being done by Brian Trottier. Gillies cleared the puck out of the Islander zone, sent it down the left wing to Brian Trottier, who skated it over the blue line. He normally comes down the pipe as the center iceman, but he was on the left side and kept on going, while Billy Harris, who was normally on right wing, skated down the center of the slot, got into perfect position while Brian was cruising towards the back of the goal. He crossed the goal line, threw it in front, right on the stick of Billy Harris, and he put it by Kenny Dryden, and the Islanders were up 1-0. That came while Jacques Lemaire was in the penalty box for hooking. The Canadiens tied up the hockey game on a goal by Pete Mahovlich from Ray-Jean Houle and Murray Wilson at the 12:14 mark. The puck ended up in the Islander zone. The Canadiens doing their usual excellent forechecking and were able to maintain the pressure. The Islanders kind of got locked up in the slot with their respective Canadian trying to tie him up. Mahovlich lost balance, actually fanned on the shot initially that would have gone into a cluster of skates and feet and bodies and whatnot. And then when he was able to regain the puck, still in almost the very same spot in the center of the slot, he just threw it in the general direction of the net, and it went in to the right of Billy Smith, who was very well screened on the shot. I'm sure he never even saw the puck. It was not a hard shot. He just couldn't see where the puck happened to be because of all the bodies between him and Pete Mahovlich. So it was tied at 1-1 at the 12:14 mark there in the first period. The Islanders regained the lead less than a minute later. As a matter of fact, 42 seconds later on another goal by Billy Harris, his second of the night and his fifth of the playoffs this year. Dave Lewis and Brian Trottier assisting on the goal. Lewis had taken the shot from the left point when the Islanders were able to get the puck in the Canadian zone. A particular effort they've had some problem with in this hockey game tonight, but they did get it into the zone. Lewis threw it on goal. Dryden had stopped the initial shot. The rebound came to Brian Trottier to the right of Dryden. He threw it out in front again, almost in the very same spot for Billy Harris to knock it in. And the Islanders are up 2-1. Besides the Lemaire penalty, when he went off for hooking at 7:25, in which the Islanders got the first goal of the game, that power play goal by Billy Harris, only one other penalty was called by Brian Lewis in that first period. Jerry Hart went off initially at the 3:31 mark of the first period for holding, and the Islanders were able to kill that penalty. The shots on goal in the first period, the Canadiens 15 and the New York Islanders 8. But the Islanders lead it by a score of 2-1. And we'll get back with more between the first and second period here at the Forum in Montreal in just a moment.
The Islanders will start their Lightning company, and Montreal will start their checking line of Jarvis the center, Doug Jarvis, a very young center iceman, Jim Roberts, the veteran right wing, and Bob Gainey at left wing. Gainey reputed to be maybe the finest defensive forward in the game. Right off the draw, Canadians dump to center ice. It's picked up by Roberts. He plays it in. Steered aside by Billy Smith. He leaves it for Dave Lewis. And the Islanders continue to break it out in the middle, and it's been so effective. Here is Billy Harris. His pass from center is swiped in by Gillies, but Gillies was offside as that pass was deflected at Bob. Amazing that the Canadians don't make some changes. The Islanders continue to break out easily in the middle.
One of the problems, I guess, maybe the Islanders have had from time to time against a lot of clubs is they try to bring the puck out of their zone by singling it out on the wings. The Canadians are well aware of that, or were prepared for that, but now when the Islanders are coming out the middle, the Canadians are not reacting.
Lines continue the same. The faceoff will be just outside the Montreal blue line. Islanders lead it 2-1 as we begin period number 2. Jerry Hart plays it in. Stopped by Dryden back of the net. He sends it back for Robinson, and Larry Robinson will skate it up. Canadian defensemen are very mobile and great offensive players. Robinson's pass goes down. Gainey centers it in the slot. It's taken by Jarvis, goes behind the net. He centers it. Hits the side of the net, and out will come Harris. Here's a 2-on-2. A lead to Gillies a little too wide. Gillies chases it down. He dumps it behind the Canadian net. He goes in back with Guy Lapointe. He centers it. Goal! Billy Harris! Iron to goal! Iron to goal! A natural hat trick for Billy Harris. Of the centering, and the work was done by Gillies. He set it in Harris on the doorstep, banged it in. The Islanders lead it 3-1, and Billy Harris has a 3-goal hat trick.
Billy Harris and the Lightning Company strike again. Harris with his 6th goal of the playoff, his 3rd of the night, as John mentioned. And there he was in almost the same position where he got his first 2 goals. The centering pass, the first time was from Brian Trottier, the second time from Brian Trottier, and now from Clark Gillies. And the Islanders get their 3rd goal of the game. It comes at the 49-second mark of the second period. Gillies on the assist. The Islanders lead it 3-1.
And Harris has really been in the right spot. His goals have come from 1 foot, 10 feet, and 1 foot. Gillies did the work. He and Lapointe banged each other around and back, and Gillies centered it, and at the exact time he centered it, Harris came in the slot, and boom, it was a goal. And he didn't even have to take a shot. He just kind of deflected that in, didn't he, Bob? Bob is getting the assist. Jerry Hart, who began the play, gets an assist along with Gillies. Is that right?
That's correct. Harris from Gillies and Hart at 49 seconds of the second period.
All right, 3-1 Islanders. Off the jaw. LaFleur keeps in Islanders' zone. Now it's banged out to center ice by Denny Potvin. Picked up by Serge Savard. He plays it in, but offside was LaFleur, who hadn't cleared.
Savard and Gary Howard kind of collided as Savard dumped it back in, and Howard made a bit of a run at Savard, which could be borderline dumb. Savard's kind of a big boy, but Howard, trying to keep him out of the play, made a good check on him. Savard just kind of looked at him.
All right, and here the Canadians bob out their number 1 line out, and they're being played by the Islanders checking line, so the matchups are working out, I guess, for both coaches. Islanders play it down, and back of his own net, Serge Savard. Now, Savard looks to come out behind his own net. A left wing lead for Robinson, now ahead in center ice for Steve Shutt. He plays it down. Behind his own net, Gary Howard. Howard bumped there by Lemaire, centered, but Savard, the shot is wide. The rebound is knocked down to center ice, and that may have hit the right post and skimmed off to the right corner. Now it's picked up behind the net by Robinson. He sends out, trying to clear it out, kept in by Denny Potvin. Right side McMillan, he centers it, but there's no one there, and Dryden clears on the stick of Savard. His pass broken up by Denny Potvin in the zone. Now left side, Saint Laurent. Cross side to McMillan. The shot is broken up. Rebound Howard. This shot in the back end went wide. The rebound is held by Dryden. And again, Bob, the Canadians very sloppy, and the Islanders might have had a 4th goal. Right now there is a break in the action with the score. The Islanders 3 and the Canadiens 1.
If the right place for you is Florida, Eastern Airlines has the right time for you. Eastern has 47 daily nonstops to 10 cities in Florida, including the most nonstops to Miami and Tampa, St. Petersburg. And remember, no other airline has lower airfares from New York to Florida than Eastern. For reservations to Florida, call the travel specialist, your travel agent, or Eastern Airlines. Eastern's got the right time and the right place for you.
almost got themselves their fourth goal of the game on that last flurry in front of the net. Billy McMillan couldn't quite get the good wood on it, nor could Gary Howard. Almost put a backhander by Dryden.
Right out the face of the Islanders are beating the Canadiens to the puck in the Canadian zone. Now, Breezy centers it. Oh, he took a shot and sent it in front of Westfall. Couldn't get the stick on it. Wilson to center ice. Murray Wilson down the left corner. Wilson in the left corner. Centers on the point to Mahowis. Knocked aside by Saint Laurent. And Eddie plays out of the zone. Now it's picked up by Jujuan. He sends out to Westfall. A lead now for Parisi. Jeet now comes over the line left side. Bumper behind by Ray Jean. Picked up by Hart. His shot. Cross save. Rebound. Juan, the shot is broken up in front. The rebound. Juan. Juan, the backhand. The shot is deflected. Goes to the crowd. And I was about to yell goal. Juan just didn't have an inch of space because Dryden was down and out of the goal. That would have been 4-1.
Really was. Somehow or other, a skate came out from almost nowhere, and it was Bill Narup who got his skate on it from his left foot to block the backdoor type shot that Drouin was about ready to put in because Dryden was sprawled out in front of the net, and the left side was open, Dryden's left, but somehow or other Narup got his stick or his skate on it. Then the ensuing shot was flipped up over top of Dryden into the stand.
Drouin just ran out of room and finally had to put the backhander up. It was deflected, but Jude almost had an empty net. Islanders have been very, very close. They lead it 3-1, early moments, second period. Larry Robinson escaped out of his zone. Robinson's pass, he neutralized, is picked up by third Savard. Savard now comes to the Canadian line. He comes across, knocked the other way by Hart. And the Canadians are really being caught down ice tonight. Here's Robinson in his own blue line. He makes a move in center ice. Robinson now to the Islander line. Drop passes for Riseborough. In the slot, knocked aside by Jean Potvin. And Potvin sends a lead pass for Nystrom. It's deflected. Picked up in center ice, and it is dumped in by Doug Riseborough. Gary Howard is playing a second shift as Bourne was injured in the first period. Howard playing a double shift on left wing on two different lines. Now back of the Islander net, Jean Potvin. He looks to clear, keeps it in back of his net, sends it back with Jerry Hart, plays off the boards to center ice. Stopped now by third Savard. He plays across the center ice for Lambert, and Lambert dumps it in. In back, Jerry Hart. There's the breakout pass in the middle again, and out to center ice is Gary Howard. Howard plays to the Canadian line and all the way down. Behind the net, it's Lauren Henning and Larry Robinson. Robinson in back of the net being bumped by Howard. Robinson skating around the net. Has to swerve to avoid Howard. Howard bumping him all the way. Now Robinson in back, knocked aside again by Howard. Picked up by Robinson, and he looks to come out. Tyson is caught up ice. Now to center ice, Doug Riseborough. Riseborough across. Deals to the left side. In the slot. Lambert shot. Six saves Smitty on Ivan Lambert. Set him in the slot beautifully. Now Howard in center ice has the puck deflected, and it goes into the crowd. There is a break in the action. With the score, the Islanders 3 and Montreal 1.
And this is Roderick Crawford on the highway for AC Delco. I want to talk to you about a real crime. Neglecting worn shock absorbers. They can rob you of ride control and comfort. So if it's time for your shocks to be replaced, go straight and get yourself a set of Delco Big D shocks. They're the big, tough red carpet ride shocks with 59% more shock capacity than most conventional 1-inch shocks. Ask for Delco Big D by name wherever you go for parts or service. And tell them Broderick Crawford sent you. And tell them Broderick Crawford sent you.
John Sterling and Bob Lawrence back at the Forum in Montreal. The Islanders and back at Billy Harris hat-trick have a 3-1 lead here, early moments, second period. We have, 15:52 remaining in the second period. And the Islanders have had a lot of chances. Narup shoots it in. Hopped over the glove of Smitty, played off the boards and back by Howard. There's the breakout pass in the middle again. Now Brian Chartier, a lead for Harris. Billy Harris comes across right side. Back in the slot for Gillies. The shot is high over the cage. Deflects into the crowd off the glass. Well, a face-off in deep Canadian zone. And Bob, I don't mean to belabor the point, but the Islanders not only are leading, but they're getting so many good chances on goal.
They really are, and they are swarming into the Canadian zone, similar almost in a style like the Canadians use and have used very effectively against the Islanders. The Islanders crisscrossing and getting into the Canadian zone in front of the net for any rebounds and shots, looking really good.
And Canadians starting to shuffle their lineup now. We'll talk about this in a minute. Off the draw, Denny Potvin right point. Behind the cage, Bryant in the slot. And it kicks out the center ice. It went past Gillies and all the way down. Bert Marshall will skate it down in his own end. Canadians have a mix-and-match line out there now with Jacques Lemaire, Bob Gainey, and Ray John Wool. Here's Gainey with the slapper coming across, glove down by Smitty, and he holds on. There will be a draw. And not that there's anything wrong with this line, but Scotty Bowman, when he's behind, decides to mix and match, and he's going into his bag right now.
One of the things the Islanders have to be careful of, certainly, is that they don't get caught taking any dumb penalties to put them in a one-man down situation. There's been only 2 penalties called so far in the game. Hart went off for holding for the Islanders, the first penalty call. Then Lemaire went off for hooking for the Canadiens. Then the Islanders and Billy Harris got his first power play goal of the night. The first of his 3 goals, it was a power play goal.
Right off the jaw, Nyrop along the left boards. His shot is wide. Kicks off on the right side, kept in by Lapointe, but Hart now dumps it out of the zone. Islanders have the Juan line out. Now Juan comes across, makes a move on Guy Lapointe. He is knocked down. No penalty called. Islanders wanted the hook. Out of his zone, Nyrop. He sends ahead for Jacques Lemaire. And he plays all the way down. After Jerry Hart. Hart decides to take it in back of his net. He sends it back for Eddie Westfall. Westfall bumped along the boards by Shutt. Puck comes loose in back of the Islander net. Picked up by Jean Pavin. He sends across to Hart. Knocked aside by Lafleur. He centers it. Shutt couldn't get a shot away. And now out of the zone will come Eddie Westfall. Westfall to center. Westfall is knocked off a stick by Nyrop. Goes in the right corner. They bang together. Picked up by Parisi. He centers it. The standing there was Shutt. And for Lafleur. A lead for Lemaire. Across on the left side. Jacques Lemaire. His shot is broken up by the stick of Billy Smith, who clears to the right corner. Tipped in by Guy Lapointe. Picked up by Parisi, and he plays it all the way down. This might be icing. No, it slows down. And, Bob, we have not had an icing call tonight. That's correct. And that is really amazing. This first hockey game I think I've ever seen, but there hasn't been an icing call for almost half the game. Canadians come to center, shoot it in. Bill Nyrop, they'll make a change. Wound around the boards for Howard. Howard can't stop it, and Savard keeps it in the zone. Behind the net, Wilson. His centering pass is blocked by Davey Lewis. Wilson back of the net, picked up by Denny Putman. Dennis around the net. A good lead pass in center right for Saint Laurent. Ace comes across, knocked off a stick and sent back the other way by Larry Robinson. He loses in center to Denny Putman. Shoots to the Canadian line across Howard. His pass broken up by the slide of Robinson. In front of the net was Howard. He might have had a goal. Howard now looks to center it. He can't do it. It is stopped along the boards by Mahovlich. Kicked free by Mahovlich and picked up by Larry Robinson. Head for Mahovlich. A 3-on-2 rush. Mahovlich across. He loses to Denny Putman. And Dennis now looks and clears out to Gary Howard. One-on-one with Robinson. Howard with a shot. It is wide. A good wrist shot. Rebound is picked up by Robinson. He leaves it on the left side for Uhl. Knocked free in front. The pass is just cleared by Savard. And Uhl plays off the board to center right. And this is all the way down. Icing has been waved off, though. Icing waved off. 12:55 remaining in the period. Now behind the net is Mahovlich. He centers it. And it's knocked back to center right by Gary Howard. Islanders lead it 3-1. 12:40 remaining in the period. Canadians shoot it all the way down. I think, well, the icing has been waved off again, and Billy Smith clears it around to set for McMillan. McMillan behind his own net sends to Jerry Hart. While a lead for Saint Laurent, for Parisi rather, he has knocked off his stick and picked up behind the net by Denny Putman. Dennis scoops it on the backhand, now looks to clear it out, and he this time does shoot it down, and there's no question about it. This will be the first icing call of the night on the touch by Bill Nyrop. There is a break in the action with the score. The Islanders 3 and Montreal 1.
I've been thinking of throwing a party for all of the Islanders.
Gee, that's really nice. You know, Bob, there are over 20 guys on the team. It's not easy to feed that many people.
No problem. I'll just get a couple of fun-sized Butterfinger bags. Everyone loves Butterfingers. The candy bar that's so good you've got to earn it. I don't mind spending a couple of bucks on a bunch of swell guys like the Islanders.
I don't know, Bob. We athletic types can eat a lot. Don't you think that you should have something else just for variety?
Maybe you're right. I'll throw in a fun-sized Baby Ruth bag, too. You are a sport.
Bob Lawrence and John Sterling at the Forum. The Islanders and the Canadiens, game number 1, with the Islanders leading in this game. We're in the second period. The Islanders 3, the Canadiens 1, with about 12 and a half minutes to go in the second period. The Islanders starting along with the Canadiens, looking a little shabby in the last couple of minutes of play. Face off to the right of Billy Smith.
And we have word on Bobby Bourne, and I would doubt he'll play tonight, although that's possible. He was taken to a hospital in Montreal for x-rays for his shoulder, which was banged up in that first period crash. All right, off the face-up, Nyrop along the left boards to the left corner. Goes in back of the Islander net, sends it in back of the net. Center for Tremblay. Tremblay on the right corner, centers it, but at home was Denny Putman, and he will send out Lorne Henning. Heading to center. Ahead now is Nystrom. Bobby across with a shot. Broken up. Rebound. Nystrom the shot. Broken up again by Shawstraw. Rebound cleared by Shawstraw. And picked up on the right wing by Tremblay. Ahead for Doug Weisbro. Doug Weisbro to center. Across to the left. Back passing for Lambert. The shot is deflected wide. Rebound cleared by Lauren Henning. Pretty back-checking play by Lauren Henning. And that's what back-checking is all about. Bowen's getting back. Puck is held in the corner for a face-off. Now, people wonder, what do you mean by a guy back-checking? Well, that was an example of it. If you decide to stay on the blue line and wait for the breakout pass so you can score, that's a goal right there. But Henning came all the way back, and I mean all the way back to his own goal line to knock that one free.
He did. The Islander defensemen, Davey Lewis and Denny Potvin, were in the process of checking the forwards out of the play, and Henning came back to help out and to clear that puck in front of the Islanders' zone. Smitty had made a good save on a quick but soft shot that was taken low, but he was able to knock in the back of the net, and there came Henning to finish the play.
All right, off the face-off, Jean Potvin goes back in his own end. Tries to elude Jacques Lemaire. He does. A good breakout pass in center right for Trotty. Brian to center. Brian to the line with a shot. It's wide. Cleared by Jordan to the corner. Picked up by LaFleur. He can't clear the zone. He's muscled there by Trotty. He picked up behind his own net by Guy Lapointe. Lapointe looks to come out. He sends softly along the boards in center right for Robinson, and he plays it in. Hatching it down by Jerry Hart, and it'll be whistled by Brian Lewis as Hart raises stick up high.
Islander defensemen are playing as good a hockey, I guess, as you could say that as they know how. But a lot of the play is by the Islander forwards, the wings in the center, who are getting the puck out of the Islander zone and continually coming out the middle, as John pointed out on several occasions. And the Canadiens are not doing anything to shut off that outlet pass up the middle yet.
11:16 left, second period. Islanders with a 3-1 lead. All three goals by number 15, Billy Harris. In center ice, the pass is stopped by Larry Robinson. Comes to the line, comes across, and dumps it in. Got a little bump from Jean Potvin when he did. Jean Potvin, right side of his net, looks to skate it out, sends across the Hart. A lead on the left side for Gillies in center. Now Gillies across. Gillies with a shot. 6-save Dryden. Rebound and behind the Canadian net. Picked up by Guy Lapointe. He sends to Shut, who clears his own. Stopped in center ice by Hart. Played by Brian Cloutier. A lead for Gillies in the slot. Pokes it ahead. Shot free by Cloutier. Brian goes to the left corner behind the net. Centers it. Right point shot back. Oh! Brian Lewis had a call time as that goalpost was knocked off its stanchion. I didn't see that. John Potvin was alone at the head of the right circle, and he was lining up for one of his bullets when Brian Lewis did call time. He had to call time to replace the goalpost.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. Billy Harris, guess who, was right in the slot, and he was locked up with Larry Robinson. In fact, Robinson had pushed Billy Harris right into the slot, and in a sense it was the push by Robinson into Billy Harris that knocked the goal off its support. And if the goal had not come off of its support and the shot had been taken by Jean Potvin and gone in, all of those ifs, I doubt that the goal would have been allowed because Harry was in the slot, being held there by Robinson.
Well, if it had been allowed, Scotty Bowman would have jumped from his bench to the circle to the right. All right, off the draw now. Kept in by Davey Lewis along the left boards. He drives to center. Blocked by Savard. Loosened back of the Canadian net. Poked at by Murray Wilson. Now Murray Wilson will skate it out. He comes down the right side. He can really escape. Murray Wilson down the right side. In front of the shot. Goal! Murray Wilson. Oh, that may be an unassisted goal by Murray Wilson. As he just flew down the right side. Made a little move and then fired it from a sharp angle on the right side into the lower left-hand corner. And the Islander lead has been cut to 3-2.
Time of that goal will be at 9:40 of the second period. To explain how it happened, Davey Lewis gambled in deep for the Islanders, trying to take the puck out of the left corner. And when the puck was batted out of the Canadian zone, Gary Howard tried to pick up his position on the defensive point, but couldn't stop Wilson, who can fly like the wind.
All right, off the draw now. Islanders try to clear out of the zone. Well, they do get Savard, and it says that he knocked the puck free in the corner. But Savard advanced that about an inch. And Murray Wilson took it the rest of the way. All right, in center right, Wilson loses on a check by Howard. Loose at the Canadian line. Poked at by Saint Laurent and held there by Saint Laurent and Mario Tremblay and Doug Weisbro. Savard for a faceoff. Right now there is a break in the action with the score. The Islanders 3 and Montreal 2.
Hello, Emery. It's 9:30. Do you know where my package is?
Just give me the name and destination, sir.
At Emery, the Air Force and Air Freight, we have a computer tracking system that works like radar. It can tell us exactly where in our system your package is, no matter where in the world it is. And it can tell us just seconds after we ask. So we can tell you just seconds after you ask, no matter how many times you ask.
Hello, Emery. It's 9:31. Do you know where my package is now?
Emery, the Air Force in Air Freight.
Number 2 scored for the Canadiens is Murray Wilson's the only assist to Savard. Time of the goal is 9:40 of the second period. It's a 3-2 hockey game. The Islanders leading the Canadiens.
It really doesn't matter just for terminology freaks, but I said Harris's goal was a natural hat trick. It wasn't. He had to score all three in succession. Actually, the Canadiens have scored a goal in between. Eddie Westfall shoots it in. Islanders lead it 3-2 with about 9.5 left in the period. Behind his own at Gila Point. Loses control right side for Juan. Juan with Westfall in front. Jude shot is wide. He didn't have an angle to shoot at, and he wanted to tip it, but didn't get it. Now center ice Poole bats in the air, loses the heart, poked all the way down by Parisi. Behind the Canadian net, Gila Point. Gila Point behind the net. Justin behind the net, picked up there by Peter Mahovlich. Mahovlich now looks to come up ice. All right, here's the big guy to center. Mahovlich winds up and slaps wide. Rebound taken by Parisi. Parisi circles at his own goal line. Now looks to come up. He back passes to Jean Potvin right in front of his own net. And Jean Potvin softly passes out of his zone to Westfall. Eddie, a good move in center. Eddie to the Canadian line. Eddie comes across. Eddie knocked off the play by Gila Point. Dryden winds it around his own net for Yvon Lambert. Lambert to center. Lambert comes across. Knocked on the stick by Jean Potvin. Good defensive play by Jean Potvin. Puck behind the net. Billy Smith plays it in back. And it's picked up there by Bert Marshall. Marshall now looks to come out. Ahead on the left side for Parisi. Comes across. Has a knocked off the stick. Picked up in center ice by Jacques Lemaire. He comes across. A head ball of floor. In front of the shot. It's wide. The rebound on the right side for Juan. He looks to play it out. Can he do it? No. It's kept in by Savard. And he and Juan hold it along the right board in Islander ice for a face-off.
You know, one thing I think must be said is that both of these teams must have a great deal of respect for each other because there's not the kind of cheap shot stuff that's going on the ice at all. They're playing a good hockey game. They're skating well, passing well. They are checking each other, but it's none of the cheap shot type stuff that sometimes can erupt in a game that is as tense as this one might be.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. Matter of fact, there's been only 2 penalties in the game, both in the first 7 minutes or so of the game. All right, in Islanders zone now, Denny Potvin paired up with Marshall for the first time, comes to center ice. A lead for Howard is too long. Behind the net, Howard has it knocked off the stick by Savard. His pass out comes to LaFleur. Guy Lafleur to center. Guy Lafleur across, right side. Lafleur centers it. Off the foul by the back checking of Henning. Henning came all the way back. Now, Judd was dumped in front, and Marshall will go off, and there will be a penalty. There will be a penalty on Bert Marshall for dumping down Steve Judd in front. There was a break in the action with the score. The Islanders 3 and Montreal 2.
This is a Crazy Eddie commercial for people who hate Crazy Eddie commercials. Just remember, when you're looking for audio equipment, color TV, car stereo, CB, anything in home entertainment equipment, there's only one man to see, Crazy Eddie. His prices won't be beat, and Crazy Eddie has all the big name brands. Everything is brand new. He never sells demos, seconds, or closed-out merchandise. Crazy Eddie stands behind all manufacturers' warranties, and he services what he sells. Visit one of the great Crazy Eddie locations in Manhattan, Brooklyn, the Bronx, or Syosset, Long Island, or call 645-1196 for a free price quote.
The penalty is to Bert Marshall for interference. Time of the penalty is at 12:15, and the Canadiens go back on their second power play of the night.
Jacques Lemaire will take this draw with Eddie Westfall. They're in the right face-off circle, left side of Billy Smith. It is Jacques Lemaire, Steve Judd, Larry Robinson, Guy Lafleur, and Guy Lapointe. Off the draw, back on the right point for Lafleur. In the slot for Lemaire. His pass is knocked aside. Free on the right board, picked up again by Lemaire. He goes to the right corner. Centers it in front, knocked away, and it's kept in by Guy Lapointe. His pass is broken up. In the slot to Lemaire. His shot is broken up by Denny Potvin. Rebound now to Lemaire, left corner. Centers it, knocked off the stick of shot. Rebound, Lafleur, the shot is flies. Rebound is picked up by Lemaire, and back he centers it. Back on the right point to Guy Lafleur. Lafleur, the shot, is going to be a penalty. Larry Robinson knocked down Billy Smith. Smith, I know, gave him a belt. Denny Potvin came over and gave a rap to Robinson. And Bob Lawrence was watching the extracurricular activities, and he'll give his full unbiased report on it right now.
He was robbed. No. Larry Robinson had set up right in the crease, almost in the crease, certainly in the slot right in front of Billy Smith. And as we pointed out, and you're well aware, many times Smitty tends to be a little aggressive there, and he helped in the process of trying to get Robinson out of there by shoving at him from behind while Davey Lewis and Denny Popham were doing the same. Robinson took exception to the shot he took from Billy Smith, and he threw a butt-ended stick in the general direction of Smitty, knocked him a little bit off balance, then an elbow, and knocked Smitty down on his hands. And immediately Brian Lewis sounded the whistle and called the interference call on both of them, apparently. They're both going to be penalized 2 minutes.
The penalties to New York number 31, Billy Smith, 2 minutes for splashing. And to the Canadiens number 19, Larry Robinson, 2 minutes for interference. At 12 minutes, 48 seconds.
And better myself.
And that report, as it were, from the horse's mouth, right? Now, the Islanders have trouble with a capital C, and that rhymes with C, and that says Canadiens. The Islanders now have to skate 4 against 3 with a 3-2 lead, and they have to do that for 1:27. Right off the draw now, Denny Popham skates it down the left corner, looks to clear, and he does all the way down.
By the way, I was just going to say that Billy Smith must have got some kind of warning from Brian Lewis after the penalties were called.
The Islanders now skating 3 against 4, and this is really going to be tough. Guy Lafleur comes across. He is knocked down by Hart. No penalty calls. Henning should be able to clear, and he does. And he banked it off the boards to get it away from the point man, who then was Jacques Lemaire. And there's less than a minute remaining on that Marshall penalty. Bob will keep an eagle eye on that. The Islanders, when they get Marshall back, will be even up 4-on-4. Across comes Lemaire to Lafleur. On the left point, Guy Lapointe. Right point, Lafleur. Back to Lapointe. His shot. Save! Big save! Rebound is not cleared. Tipped in by Lapointe. Lafleur and Lapointe played well. Now Lafleur. This shot is wide. The rebound tipped in by Lapointe. Back to Lafleur. Back to Lapointe. His shot. Save in front. Cleared by Henning. Billy Smith doing it all. 25 seconds remaining, and we're going to explain Lafleur and Lapointe. They are great. Across comes Lafleur. The flower centers it across to the left point to Guy Lapointe. Now right point, Lafleur, the shot. No save. He holds on. Billy Smith holds on with 12 seconds remaining on that Marshall penalty.
This is what makes goaltenders get gray hair, and so does the coach. But Smitty is playing it as cool as could be, I'll tell you. Just holding his ground, not committing himself too much sooner than he should, making a really good glove save. But as you pointed out, Lapointe and Lafleur moving the puck back and forth across the blue line, waiting for the proper opportunity after Lapointe got it. He threw it to Lafleur, then Lapointe goes in a bit into the slot, and then Lafleur gives it right back to him from about a 20-foot out for the Blazer.
What they do is they close it down from the blue line all the way down to the head of the circle. And when you're in the head of the circle, that's a layup. In hockey, you're only about 30 feet away, and you can gun it to your heart's content. Have you ever seen a 2-on-1 fast break in basketball where the two men never let the ball touch the floor? They go speeded back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So one has a layup. That's what Lapointe and Lafleur were doing from the 2 points. Back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Squeezing that man in the middle. And then finally at the top of the circle. Here's a big face-off. 12 seconds remaining in the Marshall penalty. Then it will be 4 on the side. Off the jaw. Back on the point to Savard. The shot is blocked by John Popham. He sends out Westfall. Westfall in center ice. Comes across on the point, knocked away. The Marshall penalty is over. He comes back on, and the teams are at equal strength at 4 aside. Now, Guy Lapointe, Ali Fakini, Bob Gainey holds up along the left boards, sends back on the point to Guy Lapointe. He carries to the slot. His backhander is broken up by Denny Popham, and he sends out Billy Harris. Billy Harris comes to center. Billy Harris with a blast. A 6 save by Dryden, and it goes in the crowd. Right now, we're going to pause 15 seconds for station identification. This is New York Islander hockey.
This is WMCA New York. Hi, I'm John Sterling, and I have Sports View, my own talk show Monday through Friday from 6 to 10, plus football, basketball, baseball, and hockey. WMCA, sports for all seasons.
And John Sterling at the Forum. It's a 3-2 hockey game in the second period with about 5.5 minutes to play. Islanders leading it.
Right off the face-off, Jarvis shoots it all the way down. It is going to go by the goal. This should be icing on the touch by Jean Potvin. Icing is called. by linesman Matty Pavlik down ice as all the penalties are over. The penalty boxes are empty, and we are at full strength with 5:11 left in the second period. The Islanders clinging to a 3-2 lead.
And boy, it was a monumental effort by especially Billy Smith in goal in that last power play situation, making some key saves that have kept the Islanders in this game. He's playing another continuous good hockey game as he's done so far in all the playoff games.
All right, Brian Triton will take this draw with Doug Jarvis. Left face-off circle, right side of Dryden, and deep Canadian ice off the draw in the point, or in the slot, whacked at by Harris. Behind the Canadian net, picked up by Robinson. He sends it around the boards to Gainey, and now Gainey skates to center ice. Gainey comes to center, and he takes a hard shot over the glass, or over the net against the glass. Picked up and back by Jarvis. He got punished by Triton and knocked down. Picked up by John Potvin. Around the boards for Harris. He clears to center ice. After Gillies. Gillies plays off the boards, and he's in the zone as Harris comes across as a result.
Boy, Clark Gillies almost had himself one there. Was very nearly pulled that puck right around Larry Robinson on the far boards. He had deep to his right and then gone to his left and tried to tuck it between Robinson and the boards to go past him. Robinson, certainly one of the better defensemen of the National Hockey League, would have none of it. As Gillies' momentum carried him over the blue line, the trailer, Billy Howard, punched it over the blue line and the offside was called.
Right off the jaw, Denny Potvin to Hart, outside the Canadian line. Hart plays it in, stopped by Robinson. He sends off the boards to Jarvis. Oh, and a hip check by Denny Potvin knocks him down. Great hip check. Now Parisi comes across with a shot, shoved down by Dryden. Picked up by Robinson. Off the board she goes, but not out. In the slot, Denny Potvin. Backhand pass, deflected. Picked up a nice one. The shot is wide. Rebound in back of the net for Parisi. Centers it in the slot. Whacked at by Robinson. Picked up by Parisi. In back of the net, Nyson centers the shot. Oh, it's just wide by Hugh Juhan. Rebound, Hart. Hart along the boards. Kicks it out onto Juhan. Juhan loses control. It goes over the line. Picked up by Denny Potvin. He sends to Juhan. Jew comes across. Bodied off the play by Robinson. Puck comes back to center ice. Picked up by Hart, and he plays it down. Behind the Canadian net. Picked up by Gainey and Nystrom. They bang together on the boards. It's in back of the Canadian net. Picked up by Peter Mahovlich. Around the board he goes. Now he holds on. Now he sends it back the other way for Gainey. Gainey comes to center. Gainey loses there to Denny Potvin. A good backhand lead for Parisi. Kicks it over the line. Parisi down the boards with Savard. They bang together and fall the puck, and they hold on for a face-off as the Islanders really put on some genuine pressure. And Juhan just missed Bob from in front.
They really had one of those golden opportunities when Juhan did end up with a puck. He just had a terrible angle and whistled it, an incredibly quick wrist shot that went wide of the net. If he'd have been just a little bit to the left of the angle he'd been firing, we might have had us a 4-2 hockey game. Bobby Nystrom had a chance in close. Couldn't quite get the puck from underneath his skate. But the Islanders, as you say, keeping good pressure on. And it's a refreshing sight, I'm sure, to Al Arbor, as the Islanders are keeping the play in the Canadian zone for a while. The Canadians are just having some problem getting the puck out of their zone, but that's partially attributable to the forechecking by the Islanders. And they've played well defensively in their own zone.
All right, the face-off will be in the left face-off circle, right side of Dryden. We have 3 minutes and 30 seconds remaining in the period. Off the draw, back of his own net, young defenseman Rick Shawshaw. Shawshaw behind the net. Now sends the pass all the way down ice to right on goal, so Smitty obviously has to make the stop, no icing. Picked up by Marshall. He sends it around the boards for McMillan. McMillan, his pass is broken up, and it will be just punched to center ice. And now picked up by Guy Lapointe. Guy Lapointe just loops it in, a bouncer wide of the net. In back of the net, Dave Lewis is bumped there by Ray Jean-Houl. It's loose in back of the other net, dug out by Lambert. Lambert looks to center it if he can. He is bumped by Marshall. They're going to hold the puck there, and there's going to be a face-off as the whistle stops the play with, what is it, 2:52 remaining in the second period.
More of the heads-up coach on the ice play by Bert Marshall. As you know, this is the first playoff game that Bart has been able to play for since that injured knee. But he just made it a really good play that doesn't get noticed that much. Lambert was offside before the Canadians could send the puck in. He kept him offside. And
off the draw, the puck just deflected right into Smitty, and he held it. And so there'll be another face-off. Down the Hart will take this draw with Mahovlich. Off the draw, Ray Jean-Houl couldn't get a shot away as Hart covered him well in the slot. Now Jean Pavel skates up the middle. A good breakout pass to center. Here's a 3-on-2. Left side for Howitt. He comes across in the slot. Silver on the shot. Saved by Giants. Down the rock, just didn't get enough on it. Out to center ice comes Mahovlich. He comes over the line. He loses on a check by Jerry Hart. He plays out of the zone. Picked up by Howitt. Howitt along the boards and bumped by Shawshaw. Picked up now by Ray Jean Houle. Houle now plays it into Islander end. Stopped by Smitty. Leaves it back for Jean Potvin. He sends it back for McMillan. Gets a return. Sends back to McMillan. And now the breakout pass is deflected by Lambert. But dumped to center ice by Billy Mack. 2 minutes remaining in the second period. 3-2 Islanders. Shawshaw's pass in center ice. Ahead for Shutt. Shutt across, losing on the back checking of Brian Chaudier, who whacked it off the boards and all the way down, sent down by Gillies. And it will be icing against the Islanders. It's only the third icing call in this game, which is almost 2 full periods old. And Gillies took that icing deliberately, Bob, is to get his whole team on, his whole 5-man unit on, and formed.
But the only guy, I think, on the Canadian side that could be considered as playing terribly aggressive is Yvon Lambert. As you mentioned, he blasted a couple of the Islanders in the first period. Just now, before he went off the ice, he put an elbow right in Billy Smith's chin.
Right on the draw, on the right point, Savard. His shot is broken up by the stick of Chaudier and Carams to center ice. Those are the kind of Carams that make for breakaways, but that Carams in the wrong direction. By in center ice, Shutt's pass is broken up by Harris, and Billy just whacks it off the boards to center. Picked back up by Shutt. He sends back on his own line for Larry Robinson. Robinson in center. He skates to the island line. He comes across, throws it in the slot, knocked aside by Davey Lewis. And now Denny Potvin, a good lead pass to Gillies. Gillies in center ice. Bumped down by Lemaire. Gillies then bumped Lemaire down. Picked up now by Davey Lewis. Lewis comes to the red line, and he plays it in. Savard has it there. Third Savard. He plays out to center ice and all the way down. Icing's been waved off. Denny Potvin will skate it down. In back of the net, he's bumped by Lemaire, but he gets free of him. Sends off to Gillies, and Gillies will lead Chaudier out. Here's a right wing lead for Harris. Billy comes across. Oh, he's belted hard by Robinson. And it's played in back of the net. Gillies takes a swipe at LaFleur. The puck is going to be held in by Harris. The shot is tipped wide in front by Gillies. Rebound Robinson in back of his own net. 35 seconds remaining. Now out of his own zone is Larry Robinson. 30 seconds remaining. Robinson over the line. Robinson with a hard wrist shot. Gloved down by Billy Smith. Picked up by Parisi, and he sends that out. Gets it. The shot is broken up beautifully by Parisi in front before the shot. Hits the side of the net. The rebound left side. Lemaire the shot. It's wide. Rebound is cleared by Denny Potvin. All the way down. It'll be icing, but thank heavens for Denny being right there. It is touched down by Serge Savard with 7 seconds remaining in the period. But that was an almoster by Jacques Lemaire, who really was centering it. It was deflected by LaFleur in front, and it just sat there right at the feet of Billy Smith.
I saw the one save by Billy Smith, but after that I was watching what was going on in the near corner as Guy LaFleur and Davey Lewis almost dropped the gloves and the sticks. They had more than a hello, how are you to say to each other. In fact, when the icing was called, they were exchanging a lot of words, and 2 of the more mild-mannered people in the whole world, probably, Guy LaFleur and Davey Lewis. And I don't think Davey was nearly as upset as LaFleur, because Davey had really given him a good check and knocked him out of the play. And LaFleur might be just a little bit frustrated in this hockey game.
Here's a big face-off. 7 seconds remaining in the period. Deep Islander ice. Westfall and Doug Jarvis on the draw. Won by Westfall. Now Lambert centers it. Deflected in goal mouth, and Smitty holds the pads together to stop the puck. And there are 3 seconds. That was awfully close right there.
Yes, Jerry Hart did a good job of getting Peter Mahovlich out of the left side of the crease. Mahovlich went right there, was looking for the deflection on the right angle shot that was taken from the left side by Lambert.
All right, 3 seconds remaining, and yes, you can score with 3 seconds remaining. Off the draw, though, Westfall wins it, and that will end the period. Come out and grabbed what looked like a huge 3-1 lead. After that, they had so many chances but couldn't score, and Montreal finally came back on a great solo dash down the right boards by Murray Wilson. That was an assist on the play, but that was about as close to an unassisted goal as you'll ever see. And so at the end of 2 periods, Bob, we're right where we were at the end of the first period. The Islanders protecting a 1-goal lead. And He might win a game here and there against the Canadiens, and we think the Islanders have a very good chance to win this series. But it is not, and never will be, easy. They put pressure on no matter who's on the ice and when they're on the ice.
Would you say that Brian Lewis is calling a fair game?
Very much so.
I would agree.
Yeah, and as you said, I think you pointed out very well, the reason why it is an easier game, the only calls he's making are the obvious penalty calls, because there isn't any of the chippy stuff being done at all. In fact, there isn't any chippy stuff being done. Body checks, sometimes when you get a stick down, you're going to trip a guy, really inadvertently. No one ever goes out and says, well, here's my stick trip over it. Well, Robert Lawrence will give it the tally of shots on goal, another overwhelming edge by an Islander opponent in a playoff game, which has not, thankfully, manifested as an opponent win, at least not yet. We have a big third period to go. Bob will run down the scoring and the assists, shots on goal, and then we'll get back for period number 3. And as you know, in Stanley Cup hockey, you never use the term third and final period. You use third period. Because if the score is tied, you go to overtime and you play until there's a winner. Anyway, John Sterling and Bob Lawrence at the Forum in Montreal, and at the end of 2 periods, the score, the New York Islanders 3 and the Montreal Canadiens 2.
Taste Schaefer beer, consistently great Schaefer, from first beer to your last, it goes straight to your thirst. Beer after beer, the same great tasting Schaefer, your last one always tastes as good as your first.
Schaefer consistency starts with country pure water, heading for the Schaefer Brewery in Lehigh Valley. There's Schaefer's Croissant Brood, that's brewing twice. For over 130 years, it's given Schaefer a smooth, crisp, consistently great taste. Schaefer consistency. Put it to the test. You'll find your last one tastes as good as your first.
Beer after beer, the same great tasting Schaefer. Your last one always tastes as good as your first.
Schaefer Brewing Company, Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania.
Please tell the jury what kind of car the defendant was driving.
A durable and economical Datsun B210 hatchback with the optional 5-speed transmission.
Objection. The phrase durable and economical calls for a conclusion by the witness.
Your Honor, the durability and economy of the Datsun B210 hatchback is well documented. Road tests, engine inspections, and the car gets 42 EPA highway miles per gallon, 28 in the city.
But these are estimates. Your mileage may vary.
The objection is overruled. Continue.
Now, please tell the jury how you knew it was a Datsun B210 hatchback.
Because of all the extras included in the price.
I object most strenuously.
Order. The jury will disregard that objection.
But we've already reached a verdict.
You have? What is it?
Hit it, guys.
Suddenly it's gonna dawn on you. Datsun says.
See your local Datsun dealer.
Here at the Forum in Montreal, Canada. The Islanders and the Canadiens at the end of the second period of play now. It is a 3-2 hockey game as both teams have come up with a goal in that second period. The Islanders lead it 3-2. As we mentioned, Billy Harris got the hat trick on the first goal scored in that second period. He had scored a power play goal to start the scoring for the Islanders. Mahovlich tied it up in the first period. Then Harris sent the Islanders ahead 2-1 in his second goal of the game. 49 seconds into that second period, Billy Harris got the hat trick. It was his 6th goal of the playoffs this year. Clark Gillies and Jerry Hart were credited with the assists. Gillies doing the bulk of the work after Hart had cleared it out of the zone, sent it ahead to Gillies, who lugged the puck over the blue line on the right wing, his off wing, went down into the far corner, the right-hand corner to the goaltender's left. And after being bumped around and almost taken completely out of the play, Clark used his strength to hold on to the puck, sent it out in front on the stick of Billy Harris, who was allowed to camp on the doorstep in front of Kenny Dryden, and Harris just banged it in behind Dryden, who was protecting the short side, worrying about Clark Gillies. So Harris getting the hat trick, his 6th goal, as they say, of the playoffs. 3rd of the night. It is from Gillies and Hart at 49 seconds of that second period to put the Islanders up by a 3-1 lead. Then the Canadiens got their second goal of the night. This one scored by Murray Wilson. They gave an assist to Savard, and that might be stretching a point a bit because Savard barely touched the puck on a scramble in the Canadian zone. The Islanders were putting on a lot of pressure to the Montreal Canadiens, and especially to Kenny Dryden, not really getting the shots on Dryden, but causing him more than just casual consternation. And in the process, as the pressure was being applied, the puck was loose in the left-hand corner to Dryden's right. Davy Lewis on the ice at the time had wandered into the corner trying to help out on the offense and abandoned his left defensive point to go in and help out. He managed to get a hold of the puck but couldn't quite center it. It was taken away by Savard, who threw it out to Wilson, who was breaking down the right wing. Gary Howitt, who normally would be in that left-hand corner, strayed from the corner and went back to the defensive point, taking over the abandoned spot that was should have been covered by Davy Lewis. But Lewis, as I say, understandably out of position, going in to help out on the offense. But Howard was the only one back as Wilson, with blazing speed, went down that left side, got around Howard just after he crossed the blue line, went in on the short side and flipped the wrister up over the left-hand shoulder, I believe, of Billy Smith for the Canadiens' second goal. It came at the 9:40 mark of that second period, so it was 3-2, the scoring so far in the hockey game. The penalties in that second period, Bert Marshall was called for interference at the 12:15 mark of that second period, and the Islanders were reasonably in good shape of killing the penalty, with Billy Smith making some more really good saves, good defensive work by Lauren Henning and Dennis Potvin, among others. And then about 30 seconds into that penalty on Marshall, Billy Smith and Larry Robinson were called for penalties. Robinson, who is the big defenseman for the Canadiens, had set up in front of the Islander goal and was trying to be in position for a deflection, as they had Guy Lafleur and Guy Lapointe on the defensive points for that power play. Lafleur on the right side, Lapointe on the left side, and it was Denny Potvin who was trying to bump Robinson out of the crease area. And as he was pushed from behind by Dennis Potvin, I think Robinson might have thought that the push came from Billy Smith. As everybody knows, Smitty tends to be rather aggressive, especially with his stick in the process of defending his goal. And if anybody gets near his goal, he gives him a whack. But anyhow, Smitty was called for slashing. Robinson retaliated with a butt-ended stick into the shoulder of Smitty and knocked him to the ice, and both of them went off. Smitty got 2 for slashing, Robinson for interference. And the Islanders went on to kill what was left of that penalty shorthanded situation of 4 against 3 with some more superb goaltending. So it's 3-2, the Islanders. Shots on goal in the second period, Montreal 9 and the Islanders 6. And we'll get back with more between the second and third period here at the Forum in Montreal in just a moment.
Crystal Gale for Eastern Airlines. Feel the seconds, feel each minute. As the day goes by, feel yourself in it. It's a good day to up and fly away. It's so easy to do. Eastern's got the right time and the right place for you. Eastern planes on the way.
If the right place for you is in Florida, Eastern Airlines has the right time for you. Eastern has 42 daily non-stops to 10 cities in Florida. That's more than any other airline. And remember, there are no lower airfares from New York than Eastern's. For reservations to Florida, call your travel agent or Eastern Airlines.
Eastern's got the right time and the right place for you.
John Potvin on the power play. Gets past the blue line. He shoots. He scores!
This is Jean Potvin of the New York Islanders. If you're a hockey fan, you know what a power play is. It means having the advantage of an extra man on the ice. At Immigrant Savings Bank, they have a power play for your savings. Their daily dividend account gives you the advantage of an extra 1/4% interest. That's more than any commercial bank pays. That 1/4% might not seem like a lot, but after being compounded daily from the day of deposit, it really adds up. After a year, Immigrant's daily dividend account pays a big 5.47%, and it lets you take your money in or out of the bank as often as you need it, without losing a penny of the interest you've earned as long as $5 stays on deposit. Take advantage of Immigrant's higher interest rates. They're a real power play for your savings.
Team up with Jerome Potvin and stop into any of the 15 conveniently located offices in Manhattan, Queens, Nassau, and Suffolk of the Emigrant Savings Bank, member FDIC. Why isn't every bank like Emigrant?
Good things, I suppose, about broadcasting hockey in the citadel of hockey in the world, maybe, here at the Forum in Montreal, is that the Canadian press crew does supply you with some unending statistics about the players and the game, either before the game or during. And one of the interesting statistics that's being kept in this game tonight is the face-offs and who has won them. Now, at this point in time, the victory in the face-off circle is not really indicative of anything, but it is an interesting statistic to know how it's going so far. That is, the Islanders won 13 face-offs in the first period, the Canadiens 15. So the difference, the Canadiens had 2 more face-offs. In the second period, the Canadiens won 3 more, 16-13. That obviously can be an important statistic, but it's not that big of a difference to really mean that much, I suppose, at this point of the game. Some of our between-period guests here on Islander Hockey receive gift certificates from Getty Oil and your local Getty dealer. Getty gift certificates, which are good towards the purchase of Getty unleaded regular gasoline. Getty unleaded gasoline, the regular, delivers the octane performance of regular gasoline and the smoothness of unleaded. And most important, it sells for less than most major unleadeds. Getty unleaded regular, more power for less money. And we'll get back with more between the second and third period here at the Forum in just a moment.
Taste, shape of beer, consistently great Schaefer. First beer to your last, it goes straight to your thirst. Beer after beer, the same great taste in Schaefer. Your last one always tastes as good as your first.
Schaefer consistency starts with country pure water heading for the Schaefer Brewery in Lehigh Valley. There's Schaefer's Croissant Brewed. That's brewing twice. For over 130 years, it's given Schaefer a smooth, crisp, consistently great taste. Schaefer consistency. Put it to the test. You'll find your last one tastes as good as your first.
Beer after beer, the same great taste in Schaefer. Your last one always tastes as good as your first.
Schaefer Brewing Company, Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania.
It is a 3-2 hockey game. The Islanders leading the Canadiens, and the two teams are going to be back out here on the ice very shortly for the resumption of play in the third period. And as we pointed out many times in our Stanley Cup broadcast, you cannot refer to it as the third and final. It is really a vocal crowd on hand, attempting at times to intimidate the referee, Brian Lewis, but he will have none of it. He's called a very good hockey game, and I think very fair on both sides. The Islanders lead it, however, 3-2. Another 20 minutes of hockey coming up, and we'll get back with the third and final period of tonight's hockey game in just a moment.
This is Broderick Crawford on the highway for AC Delco. Every day, thousands of motorists commit highway robbery against themselves. Now, take oil filters, for instance. The potential cost of a ruined engine is frightening. Replacing your present filter at the intervals recommended in your owner's manual can help guard against expensive repairs. Yet every day, thousands go without changing oil filters when they should. Result? Could be highway robbery in the form of premature engine wear. So remember, next time you change your oil, be sure your AC Delco serviceman checks on your oil filter, too. If it needs changing, change it. But be sure it's a quality AC oil filter. AC filters protect more new American cars than any other brand. They can help protect you against expensive engine wear. Come on, look, play it smart. If anyone's going to commit highway robbery, let it be the other guy.
Rod, 2330's calling you.
Get his 1020. Wherever you go for parts or service, just tell them flat out you want an AC oil filter. And tell them Broderick Crawford said hello.
God morgon. Det här är Emery Air Freight.
Bonjour, ici Emery Air Freight.
Ohayou gozaimasu. Emery Air Freight de gozaimasu.
If you're looking for an air freight company that can ship a package practically anywhere, Emery speaks your language. We're on more than 1,000 planes a day, and we also have hundreds of offices all over the world with a computer tracking system to tell us just where your package is, no matter where in the world it is.
Hello, Emery Air Freight. Can I help you?
Emery, the Air Force in air freight.
Where'd you get that Baby Ruth bar?
It was right here. I think I left it at the last home game.
Oh, no, you didn't. I brought that Baby Ruth bar today.
Oh, no. It's my Baby Ruth bar, all right. I'm sure of it. I recognize the wrapper.
So I guess I'll eat my Baby Ruth bar right now, because when you gotta have one, you gotta have one. What a sucker.
What'd you just say about a sucker?
I said I like a Baby Ruth bar even better than a sucker. Both teams are back out on the ice. The Islanders will skate from our left to right. The Canadiens from our right to left. Once again, for the play-by-play of period number 3, with the Islanders leading at 3-2. Here's John.
All right, Bob, the Islanders have a great chance here in the first game of this series. Let's see if they can make this 3-2 lead hold up. Canadians jumping in, taken by Harris. He can't clear. Robinson in the upper slot sends to Mahomes, knocked aside by Denny Potvin while on the ice, and Gilly shoots it all the way down. This will be icing against the Islanders on the touch by Larry Robinson. Well, like I'm sure you've noticed it, and so have every other hockey fan or coach or player in the league, but these three great defensemen, Savard, Robinson, and LaPointe, are really so much of their team. I don't mean just defensively, I mean offensively.
They really are. I think Savard is probably one of the most underrated defensemen in the league. He is a super defenseman and carries more respect, I think, than Larry Robinson, who gets all the attention.
The face-off now in deep Islander ice. Off the draw, the shot is wide. Taken by shot picked up by Harris, and he sends out Trottier. Bryan comes to center. A lead for Gillies. One-on-one with Savard. To his backhand, Gillies. The shot is wide. Rebound left side. Trottier plays it behind the net. Picked up by Gillies. He sends it to Hort. The shot. Hort is just wide. Rebound right point. Jean-Paul, he doesn't decide to go in. And out comes Uhl. Ahead for Lambert. His pass is broken up by Jean Potvin. Taken to center ice by Bryan Trottier. Bryan to the Canadian line. Cuts to the right side to his backhand. His shot is deflected by Robinson. And Robinson in back of the net now will lose to Gillies. He sends it to Trottier. The backhander is just wide. Rebound taken by Harris. Harris centers it in his glove by Dryden. And he holds on right there. And almost a giveaway by the Canadians.
And it took a work by an all-star defenseman, Larry Robinson, to stop Bryan Trottier, who can stick handle with the best of them, as you well know. Bryan had a good opportunity. He just couldn't quite get enough wood on the puck to put it on the backhander on the goal. Now let's pause 15 seconds for station identification. This is New York Islander hockey.
This is WMCA Strauss Communications in New York. Hi, I'm Sally Jesse Raphael, here with you every day from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We try to exchange ideas and ideologies to produce a better product. You. Join us, won't you?
Bob Lawrence and John Sterling at the Forum in Montreal for game number 1 of this best-of-7 series in the semifinals for the Stanley Cup. The Islanders are leading it 3-2. We're just in the opening minute and 3 seconds of the third period.
Face-off deep Canadian zone. They're going to whistle it down and do it again. Brian Lewis told linesman Matty Pavlik, who dropped the puck, and someone had beaten the draw. Bob Lawrence and yours truly, John Sterling, will be here Tuesday night for the game number 2. And then back home at Nassau Coliseum for Thursday and Saturday night games 3 and 4. Off the draw in the right circle, taken by Saint Laurent. He cuts behind the net, boarded there by Lemaire, taken back by Saint Laurent behind the net, but he loses to Nyrop. And Bill Nyrop now looks to come up ice. He comes over the line and passes center ice to LaFleur, knocked aside and picked up by Marshall, who whacks off the board to center ice. Now LaFleur comes across with a shot. It is just wide. Rebound is taken by Saint Laurent. Boy, Burt Marshall did a great job of keeping shut away, and now the puck is dumped out of the zone by McMillan and all the way down. In a foot race, it'll be Guy Lapointe, and he'll win it to get the icing call against the Islanders. Burt Marshall tied up shut stick. He didn't have a shot, and the puck was right by the left door of the Islander goal.
One of the things also that had you a little bit worried was Billy Smith at the moment seemed too tentative on what he was going to do as far as that shot that had been taken by LaFleur. As it bounded off the backboard, it was whistled at him wide of the net, fortunately, but it bounded back out just to Smitty's right, and he seemed like at first he was going to jump on the loose puck, but waited.
Face-off deep Islander ice. It's won by the Islanders, picked up by Jerry Hart. There's the breakout pass in the middle to Duran, but it's just wide. It was touched, and it goes all the way down. Icing's been waved off. And I'll tell you what, Duran was almost away on that breakout pass by Jerry Hart. The Canadians are really favoring the boards on the Islanders. Here's a pass, a blind pass by Lemaire. It was almost on the stick of Barisi in front of the net. Now out to center ice comes Guy Lapointe. He sends LaFleur in, gets a return. Guy Lapointe, the shot is broken up by Jean Potvin in the crowd. And our buddy Jean Potvin again, Bob, is doing it all tonight on defense.
He managed to give away the puck on a couple of occasions in the first period. Call it maybe Montreal Forum butterflies, but he has played very well ever since that time, and especially good on this play as LaPointe was closing on the off wing, as it were, for that shot, and Jean Potvin broke it up and off the ice it went.
All right, now Jean Potvin looks to come out of the zone. It's fast stopped by Lafleur. Lafleur and Laslav. Lafleur has it knocked aside, picked up in back by Lemaire. He centers it, knocked aside by Jean Potvin. Rebound back to LaPointe. The shot is broken up by Westfall. Rebound LaPointe. Goal! Guy Lafleur! Guy Lafleur picked it up in the right circle and scored. Guy Lafleur ties this game up at 3, and you knew when the Islanders couldn't clear that it was going to happen. Finally, Lafleur got it in the right circle and scored, and we're tied at 3.
It was a flurry of activity in front of the Islander net. The Islander defenseman could not clear the puck. The Canadians maintained the pressure. Guy Lafleur came up with it, dropped it off for a couple of other Canadians to take shots, and finally, as if an attitude like, I'm tired of you guys trying, I'm going to do it myself, and he sure did. From the right face-off circle to the left of Billy Smith, he rifled it in on the low glove side of Smitty, and we're tied at 3 apiece. The time of the goal will be at 2:25 of the third period. Guy Lafleur gets the tying goal.
And Guy Lafleur is one of those guys. Of course, he's the most popular Canadian, but he's one of those guys, Bob, who he just has so many opportunities. He always seems to be alone. It's just impossible to really check. All right, off the draw now. Canadians to center. The puck is played in by Riseborough. Left side, Gainey winds it around the boards. Kept in by Savard. He plays it back of the Islander net. Stopped by Davy Lewis there. Lewis centers it in front to Marshall. And now Nystrom clears the zone. He and Robinson bang together. They in center ice, Davy Lewis. Lewis leads the charge, and he plays it in. Stopped by the glove of Dryden. He leaves behind it for Robinson. He sends it around the boards to Bob Gainey on the right wing. Ahead in center ice, fast stolen by Davy Lewis. And back comes Howard to center. Loses at the Canadian line. Picks it up. Takes it across, and the Islanders come in offside. Right now, there is a break in the action with the score. The Islanders 3 and the Canadians 3.
Is this the place I go to ship a package to Fargo, North Dakota?
Yes, this is the place.
Can you get it on the next plane? Why are you smiling like that?
See that plane taking off?
Yes.
That was the next plane to Fargo, North Dakota.
At Embry, you don't miss the boat when you miss the plane, because we're on practically every airline that carries freight, plus charters, commuters, and even planes of our own. So even if you miss one plane, there'll always be another one.
Hello, Emery? Help.
Embry, the Air Force in air freight.
Guy Lafleur gets the game-tying goal at this point from Jacques Lemaire, and Guy Lapointe, time of the goal is 2:35 of the third period, and we're tied at 3-all.
Joey Hart now takes across the line, and Gillies was drawn offside as Murray Wilson kind of grabbed hold and pulled him across as Hart was ready to come across. Good play by Murray Wilson.
You know, something that Denny Potvin has not done that much of this night. He hasn't had the opportunity, and that's to rush the puck. He's played good defensive positional hockey, which is the game plan of the Islanders.
In fact, I don't know whether Denny's had a shot on goal. We could look at the sheets and find out, but I can't remember calling it anyway. All right, now to center ice. Doug Jarvis shoots it down, stopped by the glove of Billy Smith, picked up by Hart. He sends around the board for Gillies, and Gillies plays out to center ice. Knocked down is Jarvis, and picked up by Denny Potvin. Ahead now for Billy Harris. He comes across the line, bumped by Robinson, and the puck is dumped to center ice by the Canadians, and it goes into the crowd, and there'll be a face-off at the Canadian line.
Just took a look at that stat sheet. Denny Potvin has had one shot on goal, and that was in the first period. And that might have come during that one power play situation. I really don't recall, but it is only the one shot on goal, and Denny is usually good for at least 5 shots in a game.
There is a shot clock here. In fact, they have about 4 of them in the arena, or 5 or 6 of them in the arena. In fact, they have over some exits. And Canadians have a 26-14 lead shots on goal, which is not surprising. Buffalo carried that kind of a shot strength, but didn't manifest in any wins for Buffalo. All right, now Bill Nyrup sends out of the zone, shooting it into the Islander end. Picked up by Burt Marshall, plays off the boards for Parisi. His pass is stolen by Lemaire, who keeps it in. And LaFleur is on the ice again. He's on almost all the time. Now in back of his own net, Lemaire looks to steal. He does. The shot. Goal by Steve Shutt. Steve Shutt was in front of the net when the puck was stolen by Lemaire. He set up Shutt right in front, and Shutt scored from 1 feet out. And that's where those Canadians break you down. Lemaire, LaFleur, and Shutt. And now you can see how they win their game. And Montreal takes a 4-3 lead.
Time of the goal is going to be at 4:07 of this third period. It'll be Steve Shutt's goal. Lemaire certainly getting an assist, and I think they might give one to Guy Lafleur, who was digging after the puck in the corner. But Lemaire sent it in front to Shutt. Bert Marshall had tried to clear the puck in an unfortunate set of circumstances. The puck hit the linesman and did not clear the zone. Lemaire kept it in, went into the corner with it. Bert Marshall tried to take it away from him. He got it back to Shutt in front of the net. And the goal came at 4:07.
In center ice, Jean Potvin losing to the stick of Ray-Jean Houle. Now it's picked up by McMillan, and McMillan plays to the Canadian line. Jump back to center ice and picked up by Marshall. His pass to McMillan, and McMillan plays it in. Behind the net, Jide makes the stop. Wound around the boards by Nyrop, and it goes all the way out to center ice. Stopped there by Bert Marshall. He plays across to Denny Potvin, back to Marshall in his own end. Off the boards in center for Howitt. Here's the lead for Saint Laurent. Saint Laurent comes across the line, poked at, and dumped across by Ray-Jean Houle. Picked back up by Marshall. He comes across with Saint Laurent. Saint Laurent left corner. Andy now looks to center it, loses him back to Guy Lapointe. And the point comes up by, he can really skate. Guy Lapointe over the line, in the slot, all the way, tossed aside by Smitty, and it picked up by Saint Laurent. Here's a lead for McMillan, ahead for Howitt. Gary comes over the line on the right side. He's bumped from behind, taken away by Nyrop, and he plays it out. And here's Guy Lapointe. His ball's broken up in center ice by Denny Potvin. Denny rushes with a shot. Gloved down low by Jide. There's a shot on goal for Dennis Potvin. Taken away by Guy Lapointe. He comes up ice. Guy Lapointe comes to center, and he plays it in. And Montreal will make a change. Islanders down by 1 as Harris comes to center. His pass to Davy Lewis. Lewis now comes over the line. Lewis, lead a little hard for Bryan, goes back of the net. Bryan in back of the net, boarded there by Savard, picked up by Jarvis, and he sends for Murray Wilson, who escapes to center right. Murray Wilson comes over the line, poked at from behind, and knocked back on the stick. Picked up though by Jarvis with a shot. Gloved down by Billy Smith. The rebound is taken by Gillies. Gillies plays to center right. Here is Harris across the line, 2-line pass. And he got a belt from Bob Gainey anyway as he came across the line. The faceoff will be back at Islander end. There is a break in the action with the score. Montreal 4 and the Islanders 3.
You may not be the best Italian cook in your neighborhood, but cooking with real Italian food products by Polio can make you a lot better. It doesn't cost any more to prepare Italian dishes with Polio de Cotta mozzarella cheese, peeled plum tomatoes or sweet sliced peppers, imported macaroni or breadcrumbs with imported Romano. It doesn't cost any more to cook with Polio, but it certainly makes your Italian dishes taste better. Today, put some real Italian flavor in your shopping cart. Look for Polio at your favorite food store.
Canadians with 2 goals in this third period have taken the lead 4-3. LaFleur and Shutt have scored the 2 big goal scorers for the Canadians regular season to put the Canadians in front 4-3 with 13:50 left to play here in the third period.
Canadians jumping in, taken back by Denny Potvin behind the net. Islanders, of course, now looking for that tying goal. Ryan Chartier looks to come to center. He sends across in his own end to Jerry Hart. Hart just whacks it to center ice. Picked up by Savard. He plays all the board. Canadians are offside. Jarvis hadn't cleared.
I'll tell you one thing, John. We might have said it too loudly. Scotty Bowman must have been listening. The way the Islanders were able to get the puck out of their zone by coming right up the middle, the Canadians have shut that off, and now the Islanders are having to go to the wing, and the forechecking continues good by the Canadians. It's causing further problems for the Islanders of getting out of their own zone.
Both the Canadian goals to tie and go ahead in this period came down on Islander breakdowns in their end. Islanders forechecking the Canadians well, but the Canadians worked it out and scored a couple of goals. All right, heading in center ice, loses to Yvon Lambert. Lambert looks to play it in. He does. Knocked aside by Nystrom. Picked up by Bobby. He plays it across to Jerry Hart. Now ahead in center ice he goes for Henning, and Henning plays it in. On the right side, Nystrom, the shot. Hit the post. It hit the post. That would have tied it up. It hit the post flat. He beat Dryden. It hit the post, and that stops an Islander goal. All right, Jerry Hart to center ice. Hart now looks to come across. He does. Hart's pass is broken up, and he loses to Savard. Nystrom beat Dryden from right to left. And on the right side, Mahovlich with a shot. Save, rebound, Mahovlich went off the stick. Rebounded back Hart. Plays it back to Denny Potvin. Denny now looks to come up ice. Denny, a good lead pass for Parise. Off the stick, he comes over the line. Back passing to Henning with a shot. It's saved by Dryden, and the rebound will carry him all the way down to Islander end. Stopped there by Denny Potvin behind his net. 12 and a half remaining in the game. All right, center ice, Denny Potvin almost loses the shot. He does. The floor, shot, oh, hit the post. It hit the left post and came out. I said goal because I saw it go in and hit the post. And Parise plays it down ice.
One of those freaky kind of situations. Denny Potvin was about to make a big rush up the ice, lost the puck off his stick. Schutt and Lafleur were there. Lafleur was about to take the shot, but Schutt ended up taking it and hit the post. There is a break in the action with the score. The Canadiens 4 and the Islanders 3.
This is Roderick Crawford for AC Delco. You know, when they first hit the highway, people thought 10-4 on a day in October. Since then, I've seen a lot of changes. Today, there's even a battery that never needs water, the Delco Freedom Battery. It's just one of 4 batteries AC Delco offers to suit your kind of driving and your checkbook. You might be surprised how economical Delco quality really is. But you've got to ask by name, Delco, wherever you go for parts or service. This is Roderick Crawford. 10-4.
About 12 minutes left to play in the third period here at the Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens leading it 4-3. We've had an exchange of post hitting in this period in the last minute or so. Bobby Nystrom beating Dryden and hitting the post, and Schutt just hit the post on Billy Smith.
All right, in back of the Islander net now, Davey Lewis and Schutt tangle, and the puck is picked up by Lewis. He sends out Saint Laurent. Andy comes to center. Andy across. Andy with a shot broken up by Guy Lapointe. Taken away by Nyrum. He winds around the board. Stopped by Lewis with a shot. That's broken up. Picked up by Lafleur. This pass outsold by McMillan. He tries to feed it, but Howard, the shot is wide. Rebound Saint Laurent. He plays in back of the net for Howard. Gary comes in back of the net. Gary drives to center. It's knocked aside by Jarvis, but kept in by Saint Laurent. Now tipped to center ice by Steve Schutt. Davey Lewis sends it right back in again. Behind his own net. Guy Lapointe. His pass is deflected. Picked up by Saint Laurent behind the Canadian net. Looks to center it. Knocked aside by Lapointe. Picked up by Howard. Howard now looking to center it. Goes back to the Canadian line. He does center it, but right there in the middle of it is Steve Schutt. He sends out Lemaire. Lemaire over the line. Lemaire right side. In the slot. Lafleur. Oh, a great pick save by Smith. That should have been another goal for Lafleur. He had the right corner picked out. And McMillan shoots it in. By the way, Lafleur only hits the corner. He doesn't know what the middle of the net looks like. He is a great shooter. All right, here is Schutt from Lemaire from shooting it down, and they're going to go off. Out of his own end now is Jean Potvin. He escapes up the middle. He comes to center. He loses it right near his own bench. Now he tries to play it in, stopped by Murray Wilson. The time becoming a factor, 10.5 remaining. Here's a 2-line Canadian pass whistle down in center ice. 10:32 to be exact left in the game. The Islanders trail by 1-4-3 in what has been just a superlative hockey game.
Well, the Islanders had their checking line out there on that last goal by Steve Schutt, and actually the one before it. But the checking line was not able to contain Lafleur and Schutt, who are just masterful in the way they can move the puck and set each other up. No wonder Lafleur had 56 and Schutt had 60 goals.
Off the face-off now, Jimmy Roberts comes to the Islander line, bumped and boarded by Jerry Hart. Puck is picked up by Parise. His pass is deflected by Riseborough. Down center ice, Westfall. See the 2 defensemen with a breakaway. In front of Schutt. Saved by Dryden. And the rebound is going to be taken away by Savard. A lead pass now to Riseborough. Left side. Oh, the shot is wide. And it carries all the way down ice. Westfall stole a Canadian back pass, and he came right in on goal, but he didn't have enough on the backhand to get it by Dryden. Puck puck is knocked off the ice while the face-off is center ice. And I thought that whoever got a stick in, it was either Savard or Robinson. Someone got a long stick in. So we'll continue that in a minute. Right now, there's a break in the action. Score, Canadiens 4, Islanders 3.
If the right place for you is Atlanta, Eastern Airlines has the right time for you. Eastern has 13 non-stops from New York to Atlanta, conveniently scheduled throughout the day, every day. Eastern is Atlanta's biggest airline with 251 daily flights to 96 cities. And remember, there are no lower airfares from New York to Atlanta than Eastern's. So for reservations, call the travel specialist, your travel agent, for Eastern Airlines. Eastern's got the right time and the right place for you.
It was Larry Robinson who was able to catch up with Eddie Westfall on that breakaway and get the long stick in there to prevent Westfall from getting a good hard shot on goal.
Islanders down 4-3, but there are a lot of chances for both teams. This game is a long, long way from being over. It's 9:45 on the clock, and a lot of chances left for both teams. 4-3 Canadiens, third period. Now Brian Chartier escaped it down in his own end, behind his own end. He's being policed there by Doug Jarvis. And now the left wing lead for Davy Lewis. A right wing pass for Harris. Bounces off the board, stopped by Nyrup in his own end. This pass deflects off Harris's body in front of the net. Guy Lapointe clears, but, well, it is out of the zone now. Taken back by Gillies. He plays it in, and Chartier was still in the zone.
Well, this line is trying to put some more pressure on and skate well and pass well. But the Canadiens are back on defense. They're not about to take any chances now that they've regained the lead. Their defensive unit is almost without equal in the National Hockey League, as being especially mobile and strong and good skaters. But the Islanders are going to have to look for some kind of a special break just to get a good shot on Dryden.
Well, they've had a couple of them. Here's Larry Robinson sending to center. That's stolen by Marshall. He comes across. Marshall now tries to feed Chartier. Knocked back the other way by Robinson to center ice, and the Canadiens frankly gave it away there. In his own end, John Potvin being checked by Murray Wilson, and Gillies now dumps it out of the zone to center ice. Stopped by Larry Robinson. His pass to center ice is taken by Jarvis, who back passes to Robinson in his own end. Robinson's pass to center ice goes over the line. After it is Gainey in the left corner. Gainey, and it's a two-line pass as he touches it. And so that is whistled down with 8:45 remaining in the game. 4-3 Canadiens. 2 goals in this period by Lafleur and Shutt. Earlier they scored goals by Mahovlich and Murray Wilson. Islanders 3 goals by number 15 Billy Harris, their number 1 pick in the very first year of operation. Lorne Henning is on now with Parisi and Bobby Bourne. Bobby Bourne's injured, and Parisi is taking his place with Nystrom. Now the puck is dumped over the line by the Canadiens, picked up in center ice by Denny Potvin. Here's a near steal by Uhl. Uhl comes across right side, overskated it, plays him back at the Islander cage. In back of the cage, Nystrom. Nystrom is being policed there by Lambert. He pokes it free, centers it, but at home was Davy Lewis. Nystrom broke a stick, and now out of the zone is Parisi. Parisi down the left side. Parisi across with a shot, a 6 save by Dryden, and the rebound is cleared to center ice. Taken by Dennis Potvin. He plays across to Davy Lewis. And Lewis ready to shoot it in, has it deflected. Islanders going to have to clear the zone. They do as Denny Potvin whistles it down. Exact times around the board, stopped in the left point by Parisi. He whistles it behind the net for Henning. Henning trying to skate it down behind the net is bumped by Lapointe, picked up by Henning. Lapointe gathers it underneath his body, and he's going to hold it for a face-off in deep Canadian ice. Right now, there is a break in the action with the score, Montreal 4 and the Islanders 3.
This is a Crazy Eddie commercial for people who hate Crazy Eddie commercials. Just remember, when you're looking for audio equipment, color TV, car stereo, CB, anything in home entertainment equipment, there's only one man to see, Crazy Eddie. His prices won't be beat, and Crazy Eddie has all the big name brands. Everything is brand new. He never sells demos, seconds, or closed out merchandise. Crazy Eddie stands behind all manufacturers' warranties, and he services what he sells. Visit one of the great Crazy Eddie locations in Manhattan, Brooklyn, the Bronx, or Syosset, Long Island, or call 645-1196 for a free price quote.
It's a 4-3 lead. The Canadiens have the lead after the Islanders were ahead as far as 3-1 in the second period. But the Canadiens have come back and regained the lead with just under 8 minutes to play.
The face-off is in Canadian zone, taken by Serge Savard. He tries to play it out, kept in momentarily by Saint Laurent. Now LaFleur sends out shot. Shot across with a shot. Kick saved by Billy Smith. The rebound is taken by Saint Laurent. He can't clear it out. It's behind the Islander cage, picked up by Hart. He can't take it out. LaFleur, the shot, save again. What a shot. He just keeps going back and forth in the slot. Sooner or later, LaFleur going to put it on his stick. What a great line that is. Right now, here's Sutton losing on the check and picked up by McMillan. McMillan comes over the Canadian line, loses there to Larry Robinson, and Robinson looks to come up ice. Ahead for Jacques Lemaire. Lemaire over the line with a slap shot, a save by Billy Smith. Rebound and back Jerry Hart. Hart sends off the boards to Howard. Oh, it hit his skate. He might have had a breakaway if that had been on the other side of him. Now the Canadians dump it in again. Picked up by Jerry Hart, and time is becoming a factor now. 6:45 remaining in the game. Down the wrong to center ice. Makes a good move, and he plays to the Canadian line. Dumped on by Robinson. Taken by Hart. He plays it in. The Islanders are offside. They hadn't cleared the zone yet.
Islanders are trying to be a little more opportunistic themselves. Once they get across the red line into the Canadian side of the ice, trying to hang around that blue line and break in at every opportunity. The Canadian defensemen, however, are thwarting them, especially Robinson, who's played very well on the left side for the Canadians. The Islanders, however, trying to keep some pressure on, get something going without giving up anything in their own end.
Denny Potvin comes to center, and he backhands it in. All the way down, picked up by Nyrop behind his net. He overskates in back of his net, but Guy Lapointe controls. Here's Guy Lapointe skating it up to center ice. All the Canadian defensemen can do that. Guy Lapointe's pass misses Riseborough. Touchdown by Denny Potvin behind the net, picked up by Riseborough. He plays in back for Roberts. His shot is deflected in back of the net, and now Davey Lewis controls. He sends around the boards. Parisi, though, will not be able to clear it out. It's kept in. Cleared by Denny Potvin from in front of the net. Riseborough bangs with Juan. Taken back by Davey Lewis and Potvin. He winds it around the other way. Westfall can't get it out. Kept in by Nyrop. And now Westfall will be able to skate it out of the zone. Ahead to Juan, and he dumps it in off the fingertips of LaPointe. Picked up by Parisi. He overskates it back of the net. Taken back by Juan. Juan looking to get it back with LaPointe if he can. Is being held along the boards. And going down on top of the puck was Guy Lapointe. And the face-off will occur in deep Canadian ice.
I think the Islanders would like to have more of these kind of opportunities, face-offs in the Canadian zone. Once they get it in there, if they can get that kind of face-off and hope to win the face-off and get the puck to somebody who might be able to take a shot off that draw. And if they can move it quickly enough, the Islanders have worked well off those face-offs, but as I pointed out between the second and third period, one of the good stats they give us here is who's winning the face-off. So far tonight, the Canadians have just a slight edge in the face-off circle.
Well, here's a big one right here, right? Doug Chalmers and Brian Chartier, left circle, right side of Jordan. 5:55 remaining in the game. Off the jaw, back in the slot for Gillies. Knocked off the stick by Murray Wilson. Picked up by Jarvis. He cannot clear it, though. On the point, left point, Hart. His shot is a glove save by Dryden. It goes in the corner. It is picked up and back by Harris. Harris trying to send in the slot, knocked aside. Chartier goes after it. He and Wilson both go down. The puck is loose, and a fast whistle as Gillies had dug it out. There'll be a face-off in Canadian ice again, midway between the left face-off circle and the blue line.
You know, for a while, it might seem that this game was going to show who was in better condition, but so far, you can't tell. Both teams are skating well, skating strong and fresh. It does not look like either side is really that terribly tired in the game, and it's been an end-to-end type hockey game.
Right, and also everyone has forgotten about the old saw about who did the layoff affect more or whatever, and now it's just hockey again, and it will be for the rest of the series. And this is the way this series is going to be played, marvelously. Canadians lead it 4-3, but this has been a dead-even hockey game in many respects. Off the draw, Gillies. This pass is broken up by Gainey and up back to center ice. Now, Gillies puts it in, but it will be icing when the Islanders touch it. They do, and it is. 5:17 remaining in the game. Islanders, as Bob said, trying to exert more pressure visibly. The defensemen are moving up, and the Islanders are trying to get 5 men involved in the offense here.
They are, but the Canadians are not allowing it to happen, and these start and stop sessions can be a little bit tiring on the guys, as they, on both sides actually, as the face-offs are being whistled down right after they're dropped almost, because of either being offside or an offside pass. Now Brian Lewis comes to the face-off spot to tell Billy Harris and Bob Gainey to back up a little bit.
give them some room to take the face-off. Now, Gillies is being, or Strachey is being chased, and Billy Harris will come in to take the face-off.
Harris and Laurie Wilson will take this draw. Taken back now by Jean Potvin to the blue line. He shoots it in. Accidentally. Rebound on the right side, Harris. Harris centers it. Gillies going to get the stick on it, and it will be cleared by Gainey. His lead for Laurie Wilson. Down the right side, the backhand is saved by Smitty. Rebound is saved by Smitty. And there'll be a face-off in deep eye on the right. Would I say tipped accidentally? The great Canadian captain, Serge Savard, tipped that shot, and that almost went in. Inadvertently tipped it in a changed direction and almost flew into the net.
It looked like Lou Brock making a bunt because the puck hit him right about center stick, as if he was trying to knock it off to the side with the center of his stick towards the near corner, but it deflected right on goal towards Dryden, and Dryden had to clear the puck and make a save. The Canadiens at this point, according to the shot clock, are out shooting the Islanders 2-1, but it has been a much closer game than that.
All right, and back of his own net, in front of his own net, Bert Marshall. His right wing lead for Nystrom. Nystrom's pass picked up by Uhl. He jumps back to center ice, taken by Denny Potvin. He loses in center ice, and Guy Lapointe shoots it in. Stopped by Bert Marshall. 4:45 remaining in the game. Islanders trailing 4-3. They need one. All right, Denny Potvin in center. A right wing lead for Nystrom with a blast. It's broken up by Nyrop. The stick is broken up. Nystrom lost his stick. Got to get a face on the shot. Save in front by Dryden as Reese was trying to just kick it in, hammer it in from the short side.
And he almost did it.
Nystrom was getting ready for that great front shot. And his stick broken half. Nyrop got over there and got his stick in, and the combination of Nystrom's stick is broken half, and the stick is broke up all over the place. Look at it. They're actually picking up fragments, splitters, if you will, of the stick.
When you're as strong as Bobby Nystrom, you take that kind of a slap shot that he does from about the right point. Something's got to give.
Well, you know, what I was thinking of, I'm sure you would think the same thing. The last time he came down like that, he got it by drive and he hit the left post, right? You know, you can hit the post and you can hit the post. You hit the inside of the post, it's going to hit and come back in the net. That time, the other time before, Nystrom got a little too much of the post and it flew out. Born Henning and Mahovlich on the jaw in deep Canadian zone. It's loose in the Canadian circle left. Now Parisi plays it back of the net. Savard and Nystrom bang there. So does Parisi. Brian Lewis, who has a very fast whistle tonight, has whistled it down.
Again, this start and stop type of hockey, which is going to start to wear thin on the players. If you have more end-to-end action, I don't think you get nearly as tired as quickly.
All right, Henning and Mahovlich on the jaw. This one is won by the Canadiens. Picked up by Robinson. He goes behind the net. Johnson in back of the net. Sent around the boards for Robinson. And he skates to center. Canadiens lead it 4-3. And the Canadiens shoot it down. Behind the net, Lambert bumped there and picked up by Nystrom. He sends it back in his net for Bert Marshall. Around the boards for Parisi. Now Marshall picks it up and back as the Canadiens are really forsaken. Mahovlich now sends it behind the net. Picked up by Marshall. Islanders trying to get the clearing pass. They do. To Henning in front of ice. Henning shoots it down. After now, Robinson and Nystrom. Robinson takes it behind his net. He loses on the check of Henning. Picked up by Nystrom on the right circle. He tries to send out to the point, and it goes by Hart. Picked up by Nystrom in center ice. Denny Potvin controls there. He sends to Nystrom. And Bobby now to center. A lead way offside is Parisi. The pass is too slow. Right now, we're going to pause 15 seconds for station identification. This is New York Islander hockey.
This is WMCA New York. Hi, I'm John Sterling, and I have Sports View, my own talk show Monday through Friday from 6 to 10, plus football, basketball, baseball, and hockey. WMCA, sports for all seasons.
All right, off the face-off in center ice, Jacques Lemaire. He backhands it all the way down. The Islanders have 3 minutes and 15 seconds to get this triangle. Icing is called on the touch by Jean Potvin. As Lemaire obviously had to be a little bit behind that red line. And Bob, the Islanders have 3:17 to get the tying goal and force an overtime. And
time's a wasting, as they say. The Islanders seem to have the better of it up through the first two periods when they were ahead at one point in the first 49 seconds of that second period with Harris getting the hat trick goal. They led by 3-1 at that moment. Wilson came back to score for the Canadiens to make it 3-2. Then Guy Lafleur and Steve Shutt, some familiar names to NHL fans, scored goals in this third period to put the Canadiens ahead. Lafleur's tied it up, and Shutt has put them ahead 4-3. Billy Smith has not played poorly in goal again tonight. He's played very well. But what can I tell you, when the Canadiens have the puck moving as well as they do, and especially that Lafleur-Shutt-Lemaire line.
Saint-Laurent will take this draw with Doug Jarvis. No, he won't either. Jarvis been kicked out of there. And let's see now. Tony Wilson will go and take the face-off. He and Saint-Laurent on the draw. Left face-off circle, right side of Ken Dryden. The face-off. Behind the Canadian zone now. LaPointe tries to clear it. He does on the stick of Jarvis. Jarvis, a lead on the left side for Gainey. He comes across, but he brought the puck in behind him for another offside. No question about it that the Canadiens have just tightened up their game. They have just tightened it up like you would a belt or suspenders, Bob, and I don't blame them. They have a 4-3 lead, just 3 minutes left in the game. But the last 10 minutes or so, the Canadiens have gone away from their long passing, speed skating game entirely. They really have, and there's no great surprise to anybody when the Canadiens get in a lead as they have of just one goal, and that's about all they really need to play that kind of hockey, just to, in a sense, to kill time, hope that you will make a mistake, and if you do, though, they will capitalize on it, but they're not going to take any big chances. Well, you don't have to. And they have the boys on ice now can take advantage of it. The Lafleur Shutt line is on. Islanders dump it in. Picked up by Savard. He sends off the boards. Not out. Kept in by Hart momentarily. But Lemaire blasted to center. Here's Lafleur. Down the right side with a shot. What a save by Smitty, and he holds on. I have no idea how he held on to that with his pads. And the Canadian fans are giving him some applause. Boy, can he skate and shoot the puck. He sure can. I agree with you. I don't know what happened to that puck. The only thing I could say is it's a guess. After Lafleur took the shot, Smitty saved it with one of his skates, and I think that puck might have stuck in his skate. But it just was completely out of sight. I thought it went in for a minute. All right, off the face-off now. Juan can't clear it out. Kept in by that man Lafleur again. Behind the net, Burt Marshall. He sends around the boards for Westfall, not out. Kept in by Robinson. The shot is gloved down, and Smitty goes down. On top of him is Shutt, who's always hovering around the net in the slot, and Burt Marshall will push the Shutt down. The third man in the family. Smitty making another good save, though, from that blast at the left point. The Islanders trying to keep people out of the way so that Smitty can see those shots. It's kind of easy to look down the ice and you know where Lafleur and Shutt are, right? Just look for the net. That's right. Buzzing around. 2:25 remaining in the game. 4-3 Montreal. Now here's Lafleur in center ice. And he scoops it high in the air and off the glass and back of the Islander cage. Picked up by Jerry Hart there. He sends a lead for Parisi. Now for Juan in center. He's being back-checked beautifully by Shutt, who dumps out to center ice. Poked at by Parisi. He sends it into his own end. Boy, the Canadiens have just shut down the Islanders in the last few minutes with some great checking. Now Parisi in his own end. Back passes to Jerry Hart. The Islanders running out of time. Minute 55 remaining in the game. All right, Burt Marshall to center, and he shoots it in. It comes off the boards, off on the left wing, and it will be carried out by Jacques Lemaire. Lemaire to the Islander line, crossing to the left side. His pass is broken up by Jean Potvin, taken back by Dennis, and he sends out Juan. Over the line, Jude loses control, and Guy Lapointe plays off the boards and down ice. Taken by Jean Potvin, and he shoots it in. On net this time, gloved down by Dryden. Picked up by Guy Lapointe. He is taken down by Harris. No call. Islanders got one there. Islanders were really fortunate there. That was the hook. Now it's dumped out of the zone by Gainey, taken back by Gillies, and he plays it in. And Billy Smith is awaiting instructions when to come off. Under a minute. The pass almost stolen by Harris, but he couldn't do it. And Gainey comes out of the zone. And there's under a minute remaining in the game. Under a minute left in the game. Islanders down by a goal. Here's a lead pass to Gillies off the stick, goes all the way down. Stopped by Dryden. Smitty is coming halfway out of the net. He hasn't come out yet. The puck is going to be dumped off the boards by the Canadians. The center ice, picked up by Jean Montman. He sends ahead for Harris. Billy Smith is coming off. Jottier comes across the line. The puck is not in the zone. Stopped by Robinson off the board. Kept in by Nystrom. Bobby loses control. Bobby is batted out by LaPointe. And here is Poole sending out to center ice. Stopped by Denny Potvin. Ahead for Jean Potvin. He dumps into the Canadian zone. LaPointe now plays it down ice. There's 15 seconds remaining in the game. Islanders need one in a hurry. Here's Nystrom coming to center. Drops it for Chaudier. Swatted at down ice by Rajon Uhl. And that will about take care of it with 5 seconds remaining. Mahomes comes in to the side. It is wide. And that's it. Montreal Canadiens come back in the third period and score 2 early goals by Guy Lafleur and Steve Shutt. Tie and win this game 4-3, and then they hung on and they played such great defense. The Islanders couldn't really keep the puck in Canadian zone near the end of the game or even get a face-off to pull Billy Smith and get an extra attacker on where it meant something. They finally got Smith out, but they never got out of neutral ice. So the Canadiens win the first game. It is a best of 7. And I believe that all 7 games, or at least 6 of these 7 games, will be used in this series. I believe the Islanders are going to beat this team 2, 3, maybe even 4 times, and maybe even win this thing. That's what I really do believe. Anyway, the Islanders lost a heartbreaker tonight, but they had won 6 straight playoff games. You don't go through winning every playoff game. We will be able to run down the goals. We do not have the equipment tonight to replay them, unfortunately, but we hope to rectify that by Tuesday. But tonight we will certainly give you a rundown of all the goals and the shots on goal, and give you Bob's 2 awards, and take care of all of our business when we return at the Montreal Forum. John Sterling and Bob Lawrence here for now the final score: the Montreal Canadiens 4 and the New York Islanders 3.
Recent.
So John Sterling and Bob Lawrence back at the Forum in Montreal. And the Montreal Canadiens have beaten the Islanders to win the first game of this best of 7 series, 4-3. And let's see, where do we begin? Well, the Islanders played very, very well. If, in fact, they had a prove to themselves they can beat this team, they proved it tonight. They really did play them very, very well. And, you know, Montreal outshot them, but that's the Islander game. And you know Montreal is going to outshoot you. And the Islanders might have to police Mr. Lafleur and Monsieur Shutt a little more, but played a whale of a game. I think I'm going to pick up on one thing you said during the game, Bob. It was in the third period. You said Billy Smith had played very, very well. Pete Mahovlich was allowed to stand a little too long in the slot, and on the second pirouette, he found the empty side. And I don't think you can call Smitty his fault on that. On the Murray Wilson goal, Wilson came down the right side that was open and alone as Davey Lewis got trapped, and he closed in on goal and knocked it in. The other 2 goals, Lafleur and Shutt in the third period, were both Islander mistakes. Those are Islander giveaway goals, mistakes in their own zone, and both Lafleur and Shutt scored from right in close. I know on those goals you don't blame Smitty. If you blame him, if he blames himself, and Smitty is very hard on himself, he might think about the Murray Wilson goal, that's all. And so what I'm really saying is I fully expect Bill Smith to be in the Islander net when this series resumes here in Montreal on Tuesday. And I don't think the Islanders need any more recriminations. You're going to get beaten. And what the Islanders want to do is win 1 out of 2 up here. And now the spotlight then focuses on game number 2 here. The Islanders really have to come away with a win.
I couldn't agree with you more. The Smitty did play well. The only one I would fault him on slightly, and that is the Wilson goal. But, you know, it has been Al Arbor's policy that when a goaltender plays a bad game, that's when he's going to change goaltenders. To a certain extent, that at least has been the apparent policy of him in the playoffs the past couple of years. You cannot say that Smitty played a bad game tonight by any stretch of the imagination. He played very well. The defense made a couple of mistakes, and the kind of mistakes you just can't make with a team like the Montreal Canadiens. I think it remains to be seen how the Islanders as a team will react to this game, whether or not being up 3-1 and then losing takes anything out of them for this game coming up Tuesday night. I doubt it very much. I think they're playing well enough. They will realize, well, it's one of those things, so what? They still have to beat us 3 more times, and we just want to try to win one here before we go home.
Well, I think that's what they want to do, and if they do win Tuesday, they'll have taken the home ice advantage. And there's no reason why they can't, because they produced the kind of effort tonight that on the right occasion will spell a victory. Now, they've got to take care of Shot and LaFleur, who really had so many chances buzzing around the Islander net. The Islanders did have a lead of 3-1. In fact, they led 1-0 and then 2-1 and then 3-1 before the Canadiens came back. And to tell you how they did it, to replay or at least to recount the goals, here is Bob Lawrence.
The first goal of the game, Billy Harris getting it. It was a power play goal while Jacques Lemaire had been in the penalty box. Brian Trottier took it in behind the goal line, threw it out in front, and Billy Harris put it behind Kenny Dryden, so the Islanders were up 1-0. Pete Mahovlich scored to tie it up in that first period after a flurry in front of the net, right in the slot, as a matter of fact, and it appeared that he was just throwing the puck on net, and he himself, I'm sure, wasn't quite sure where the net was, just throwing it in the general direction. Smitty, I'm sure, had no sight of the puck because there were so many people between him and Mahovlich, and the puck lost in that flurry of bodies, and it was by him before he realized the shot had been taken. So it was tied at 1 apiece. Billy Harris got his second goal of the night in that period, less than a minute later. Again, a good effort done by Brian Trottier. Davey Lewis had taken the shot from the left point. It was saved by Dryden. The rebound came to Brian Trottier, who threw it into the slot where Billy Harris was waiting, and he threw it by Dryden to make the Islanders in front 2-1. 49 seconds into that second period, Billy Harris got the hat trick on the assist to Clark Gillies and Jerry Hart. Gillies lugged the puck down the far boards and was being checked off the play by Savard and Robinson, but Gillies, with a second effort, was able to hold on to the puck and throw it backhandedly into the slot again to Billy Harris, and he banged it by Dryden, who was more concerned, I think, with Gillies than with Harris, and thus the Islanders led it 3-1. Murray Wilson lugged the puck the full length of the ice about 8 minutes later and went in on the short side of Billy Harris and beat him with a bad angle shot that Smitty maybe should have had, and that made it a 3-2 hockey game. Then in the third period is when LaFleur scored in front after trying to drop it off to a couple of his teammates, especially Jacques Lemaire and Guy Lapointe, who ended up having assists on the play. But Guy Lafleur then finally took the shot himself from the right face-off circle and beat Billy Smith. The final goal of the game, that was what tied it up at that point. The final goal, which was the game-winning goal, scored by Steve Shutt from Jacques Lemaire. And Shutt got a centering pass from Lemaire, who was cruising in from the left side to Billy Smith's right and got a perfect pass to put it in the net. So Jacques Lemaire, assisting on the last 2 goals, the tying goal and then the game-winning goal, gets our Butterfinger Award for tonight. The canned Butterfinger, the candy so good you got to earn it. And the game-winning goal gets the Polio Gamer Award to Steve Shutt. And he'll receive a gift basket filled with Polio ricotta, mozzarella, and other fine Polio products.
As one well knows, you cannot replay a game. You can't do anything different in your life that's already been done. So why bother? But when the Islanders did get that Harris goal at the beginning of the second period and earned the 3-1 lead, they then had quite a few opportunities, Bob, and it might have been a different story if they had cashed in on one of them. They didn't, and the Canadiens won this game by 4-3. And our next game is Tuesday night here at the Forum. Bob will be on at 7:45 with Center Ice, and then we'll have the play-by-play beginning at 8 o'clock. New York Islander hockey is brought to you by Johnson, whose new 5-speed B210 Plus has radial tires, 40 stripes, and many other pluses. By Eastern Airlines, the people of Eastern have the right time and the right place for you. By Polio Ricotta and Polio Mozzarella and the great Italian family of Polio products. By Getty Premium and Getty Unleaded Regular. It's a higher octane gasoline with the lower prices. By the Brewers of Shaver Beer as another major event in your Shaver circle of sports.